Good morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, June 11th, 2020. In the AFL, had their first game of the round 2 of the 2020 season just this morning.
Woo!
The Collingwood Magpies and the Richmond Tigers took each other on at 5:40 a.m. local time on Fox Sports 1. It was a shortened game, shortened quarters, but still same intensity. It ended in a 36 tie. I got yelled at for calling it a tie. It is actually called a draw. Have some respect for the sport, McAfee, is what I was told. But they ended up in a 36-36 draw. And all of Australia this morning was talking about how bad of a game it was. Australia kept tweeting me saying, sorry, this is such a bad game. Lowest scoring game or something like that since 1999 or something of that nature. The over-under was supposed to be at 120-some points. It only ended up, obviously, at 72. So there was a lot of underwhelming parts, I assume, in the Aussie football rules fans' eyes. But for me, I don't know much about it. I thought it was intense. I thought it was insane. I thought it was absolute mayhem. I had no idea that was a trash, crappy game until every once in a while the commentator would say, that's the worst kick he's had in his life. And then a tweet would come to me, sorry, you got to watch this terrible game. It's like, whoa. I don't think it's a terrible game because I haven't been jaded long enough to know what great games look like, I don't think. I don't think I know enough about the game to understand, like, it's supposed to be super high scoring and things of that nature. Now, I assume a lot of people in Australia understand, just like us, that coming out of a 3-month quarantine, it might be a little bit rusty. Sure. Might be a little rusty, like old Dusty was for the Richmond Tigers, a little rusty-dusty this morning. But if you don't know any better, like we don't, and most of America doesn't, those last 5 minutes were insane. Now, granted, did I watch the first 2 quarters? I gave it a go. I set the alarm 5:20 a.m., which, by the way, is an hour and 15 minutes earlier than I normally get out of my bed. Does that make sense? So I'll set my alarm 6:15, snooze, then I'm out of my bed. So a 5:20 alarm clock set was an aggressive decision, but I said, you know what? Been talking about the AFL, pumped for the AFL to come back. I'm going to get up and watch this thing, tweet alongside of it. It's the least I could do, or I'm a complete hypocrite. So then 5:20 came, it literally made the sound. I looked at it, didn't even hit snooze, went into the clock, edit, change the time, move it back up to 6:15, back to bed. We're up, we're at 'em. I catch the final 2 quarters. I guess I missed our Collingwood Magpies team being up like 24 points or something of that nature. But that second half, they were saying it was rusty. They were saying it was bad Aussie rules football. For me, I enjoyed the hell out of it. There was big hits. There were some missed kicks. I saw no torpedo kicks, which is like NFL-style punt of a spiral. It was all end over end. I thought there was a couple times, a couple of the mates could have opened up with a little bit of a torpedo style punt and maybe hit from long range. There's a couple missed kicks, by the way. In America, that person's not allowed basically to get back on the bus and go home. There's a couple missed kicks late. I mean, it was an awesome game in my eyes. And it reminded me, with the reaction that was coming on Twitter, for a situation I had at training camp. And I forget which coach told me, but training camp, it was open to fans. And fans don't always know the ins and outs of punting and things of that nature. So I would punt. First period of practice was punt normally, so I got a chance to set the tone for the crowd. And it was home run derby normally. I'm just trying to hit big balls so you can get a, like that type of thing, because there's no returner really. There's no real pressure. I'm not going to get hit. So you could drop that thing a little bit lower and hit it like 70, 80 yards if you want to. Just like make it a show for the fans. In this one night, I was hitting the ball. It was going good, but I wasn't hitting it perfect. Like I wasn't hitting it clean. So whenever I mess up, I drop a very, very, very loud MFer. Just always have, always will. It's gotten me in some trouble. There was this one time, there was a Huntington Bank kids about 4 feet behind me that were kind of like underprivileged youth in Indianapolis that got to come out to camp, and they were 4 feet behind me. I was on the back of the end zone. I miss a ball, drop a very, very, very loud F-bomb. Chuck comes over. He's like, will you just turn around and look less than 2 yards behind you? And I turn and I look. I see the kids. I go, look, if they want to watch Daddy work, they're going to listen to Daddy talk. And Chuck was like, you are in shame. Chuck moves the practice up 20 yards so that hopefully if I yell, the kids don't hear, right? So, but that was the thing. Like, if I didn't do well, I didn't have the composure to just be like, oh, you'll get it next time. Like, I was very angry. If I was trying to do well and I didn't do well and I didn't do perfect, I would yell the F-bomb. Just Every sport I've ever played, if I am focusing on something and it doesn't turn out perfectly, like that is a tough thing. In college, whenever I would miss a kick, my freshman year, I would miss a kick and I would do the exact same thing, and it would be a very loud mother. And on TV, they zoom right into your face. So my mom was like, hey, listen. Just want to let you know that whenever something doesn't go right, will you please put your head down whenever you start swearing, because they had a zoom in on your face screaming mother or and that we would just like that not to happen. So if you ever see me when I mess up, usually my head's going straight down and people think like I'm sad or whatever. No. I am boiling just looking down. There are swear words going out there. And in practice this one time, I was hitting big balls, like maybe it was going like 50 yards, but it wasn't like nice because I had a jet stream behind me. So I dropped a loud MFer. And I forget which coach it was that came loud. I mean, it echoed off of the little kids' heads that were in the bleachers that were there for practice. I mean, it was loud. And the coach came over to me and was like, if you didn't scream so loud that you were angry, nobody in here would know that was a bad punt. Like if you didn't let everybody know that what just happened there wasn't good, nobody has a clue, Pat. Why don't you just let these people think that you just had the best set of your life and then get mad afterwards? It's like, well, I can't do that. That's what happened this morning with Aussie Rules football. All the Aussie Rules football fans from Australia are like, this stinks, this stinks, this stinks. For me, I don't know. I'm that kid in the crowd that just heard somebody swear. I thought it was a great game. I was like, okay, we got a battle here at the end. Sometimes there's going to be a ground and pound game where defense wins out because that's football for us. I had no idea it was a bad game, but apparently when it ends as a draw or a tie, that's when my tide started turning a little bit. I'm like, come on. Like there has to be some sort of way for these guys who just gave their lives for this entire time. That was a shortened game coming off the thing. There should be a chance for them to win this thing outright. And you have those posts and everybody kicks. Just do penalty kicks. Just have them line up at 50 meters. Now, granted, I'm not trying to change a league that's been around for 124 years. Okay, I'm a very new fan. I'm not doing that. But when that game ended in a tie, I was like, it's literally set up for people to go in there and just have 5 people do it. And maybe don't give it as many points as a win because it's like hockey. It's an overtime win or whatever. Maybe don't give them. But I feel like walking away from that this morning, my only grudge about it was nobody did anything. Nobody ended up winning. So the Collingwood Magpies, our team, still undefeated, I guess.
Yeah.
Still undefeated. So that's something to talk about. But I enjoed it a lot this morning. Yeah, Diggs, this is your first time really watching.
Yeah, because you introduced it to us right before it ended. So that was the first game I ever got to watch. And like it's basically a game that you create in your backyard as a kid, and it's so fast moving and it's intense and physical and it involves everything. I'm all the way in. And Dusty Martin, if I could look like one human being in my entire life, it is Dusty Martin.
You need to relax. Let's not act like
male.
Let's not act like Mason Cox isn't an absolute male dime piece. There's a lot of them over there in Australia. Okay, if you're just going off of hands, Dusty was rusty. A lot of people were tweeting me. Dusty was rusty. They're Richmond Tigers, by the way, last year's champion. So now they're taking on our team, the Collingwood Magpies, who have Mason Cox, who's currently out with a knee injury. If he was playing, Magpies win decisively. I think we all very much know that. But I loved it. It was just pure pandemonium. Just mayhem happening. People just getting slaughtered. And I got a lot of people from rugby tweeting me about how rugby's a better sport and you should check out rugby and things. I've seen rugby before, to be honest, and that's why I didn't watch Aussie Rules football, I think, for a long time, because people told me Aussie Rules football was rugby. I understand that rugby is an incredibly tough sport. Like, I could not play it. I'm not tough enough to play rugby. I respect it. But it's so slow for me. It is so slow for me. And I think the reason why I liked Aussie Rules football before the quarantine is because it's wide open and things are happening. And that was like, oh, damn, I thought this was rugby. It's not rugby. And this morning I thought was a good game until all of Australia was informing me all morning, this game is trash, mate. Like all of this stuff. I'm like, oh, well, it's only going to get better then. And I'm in it for the long haul. It was beautiful to wake up, have a TV on while I'm showering, while I'm getting ready. I got that thing on in the back. I mean, it was a great get up athletic event at Boston Connor.
And when the game was really getting going, so were the commentators. I mean, the commentators would start getting on a roll, and they were hilarious. They were mentioning one guy had a duff of a kick, and they're like, oh, that's the worst kick of his life right there.
How about the commentators sound like horse races? Horse racing commentators at one point, like riding a wave. But I must say, A lot of Aussie Rules football fans were tweeting me about how bad the commentators were. What? So I think what happens is you kind of get jaded. And by the way, there was a bad call that screwed the Collingwood Magpies too. Now Jack Higgins, who just got out of a year back from brain surgery or whatever, ended up being on the benefiting side of this bad call. So it's kind of one of these, but the refs over there are bad as well. But I think if you're a fan of something, you get jaded by it. So then you start spewing out how I'm probably going to feel in a couple of years from now if I had to guess. But I'm so new to the game that it's not even, commentators were electric, I thought. I'm like, okay, here we go. Got a little energy, got a little comedy, and they're kind of breaking down what's going on. I can't fully understand what they're saying. It's crazy that we speak the same language with their accent. I can't understand every word. But, man, I really enjoyed this one.
Like you, I took maybe a 90-second shower this morning, which was the only issue because I love morning showers. So I'm probably going to have to get a TV in the shower is the only issue with the AFL.
You know what you should get? You should get one of those, what's that thing that they spray on that glass boat?
Flex Seal.
Flex Seal. You should just get a couple Flex Seal things. You should Flex Seal a little box together and put a TV inside of it and just move it into the, you know what I mean? Just flex, because they had a glass boat in the water.
Now we're working with gas.
Yeah, exactly. Cooking with water. That's what we're doing. But yeah, it is. I'm pumped for that to wait. We got 2 more games tomorrow, I believe, at some time, and then this weekend there's like 3 or 4 games. I'm getting into it.
I mean, if it was that thoroughly entertaining and people are saying, like, hey, this is like a very bad game, then I'm very excited to see, like, what things are like in, like, a couple weeks when these guys get the rust off.
All the boys, what's up?
I think the negativity is your fault because all the Australians are like, wow, Pat's brought it to America. People are going to be watching, and then we got a bad game.
In their eyes, it was a bad game.
It was entertaining.
I need to let them know that in my eyes, in my virgin Aussie Rules football eyes, who I've only gone down rabbit holes and seen big hits and big kicks and things like that. There was a couple of those this morning. There's a couple of big hits. So in our eyes, I want to let the people of Australia know that you did not underwhelm or underperform this morning. I think it was, if it's only going to get better, I think you set the hook for a lot of people here. And then whenever you actually, good crew, I think you're going to get them whenever a game happens this weekend. What's up?
Do you see what they're doing? The same thing Jordan did. They're doing the PR spin, where it's like, it wasn't that good, guys. Come watch the next one, though. It'll be better.
Wait, by the way, Jordan's PR spin was that everybody's going to think he's a hole of the ass by the end of it.
Yeah.
It happened.
No. Greatest fisherman ever.
Well, greatest basketball fisherman ever. But we have Dwight Freeney joining us in 19 minutes. Dwight Freeney, a member of Team Jordan, knows Michael. We will talk to him about that. And also about Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, and things of that nature. And he's a fisherman, I'd assume. Did he ever go fishing with him? Ooh. But you got to remember, after that docuseries was finished, there was more than 2 people that were in that documentary that were not happy about how they were portrayed in that documentary. And I would assume that would be what Jordan was referring to whenever he watched the entire docuseries before it aired. He was like, Scottie Pippen's not going to be happy about this.
I don't know. I feel like Dwight Freeney's a good guy, keeps good people around him. Jordan's a good guy, too.
Yeah, that's a great spin zone just to take it there. But I would assume Jordan had nothing to do with the editing of that.
No.
Jordan was shown that docuseries. Probably because they had to rush the ending of it.
Yep.
He was shown that docuseries probably a couple days before it went out there. He watched it and was like, we cannot put this out there. And they're like, yeah, we got to because the quarantine, they sped it up and everything. Like, it's going out on Sunday or whatever. And he's like, well, let me do some interviews. People are going to hate me after this. What's that?
Well, the guy who edited it did some interviews, and he did say they showed it to him, and Jordan had insisted that they put in the clip of him hitting that. I think it was hitting the shot in Atlanta. So he did see it and had some input at least days before it went out.
Let's make me a little bit. I mean, the make in Atlanta was good. Do you want us to take out the Scottie Pippen one where he refused to get back on the court because they gave Kukoc the game winner? I'm not talking about that. But
get the game winner.
Yeah, please. I'm not telling you what to do, but the game winner has to be in there. Oh, that's awesome. Or maybe he did say take the Scottie Pippen thing out. Maybe Jordan put suggestions out there and was like, let's take the Scottie Pippen thing out. Let's put the game winner in Atlanta maybe. And the editor, because he knew who he was working for, was like, oh, we'll leave that. We'll bring that. That's what we'll do. Or he knew that everybody's going to hate him afterwards. And I believe there are some people who hate Jordan after that, I think. And they were probably people that were in that thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Jerry Krause's family. Oh, there's probably an entire squad of people.
Well, it's kind of his fault. So
I don't know. Everybody has come out and said basically that old Jerry Krause is being painted in a bad image in this thing. But he did tell Phil Jackson, no matter what you do, you're gone. And he did bring another coach around, and he did try to force people out. So I guess there are a lot of things that make him a stooge as a GM. but they never really talked about how, the guy built the team, though. He got rid of a bunch of players, so they built around Jordan, and they made the team. That kind of got lost in the shuffle. And you could see how if Jerry Krause was an egotistical maniac, which I would assume some people in positions of power are, that he could maybe want to rewrite the ship. But I think he was a guy that was painted in a one-sided light. I would assume Charles Barkley said that. Metta World Peace said that. There was a lot of other people that said that. So I think, Jordan knew that there was potentially going to be some enemies coming out of that thing. But I enjoyed watching it. Yes. Just like Aussie Rules football. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Loved it.
And I think a lot of other Americans did as well. At Nick Morado will be on the music today. Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee. Viva Lazito. You like beer?
I still like beer.
At Evan Foxy's here. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331 at Boston Connor. There's your golf glasses once again?
These are my golf goggles, but boys, do you notice anything maybe solely about myself?
Are you growing a soul patch?
That is the worst flavor saver I've seen in a long time. But hey, greatness takes time, pal. Greatness takes time.
It's a process, but that soul patch is going to come in strong.
So you're going to just have the entire circle around your mouth?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I actually did leave some room here, but this is the only spot on my face where hair doesn't grow.
That's like a Listerine
Is that the
patch.
V for Vendetta look?
Right here.
Yeah,
Well, that one comes down a little bit. I was thinking of just going with the patch. Should I try and grow the stripe?
No, I don't know. You do whatever you got to do. Guy Fieri had the flavor saver down there.
yeah.
I think he still
Fieri.
does. Yeah, Fieri. Fieri.
Fiali.
Fieri.
Fiali.
Fieri.
Fiali.
Fiedi.
Fiadi.
Yay. From what I've been told, by Fieri. 15 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break. We got a lot of PGA conversation today. The PGA is back. Let's go. Justin Thomas said, I ain't wearing a stupid microphone, okay? Conversations that I have with my caddy and out there, you already got microphones on the green. You already got them on the tee box. Get off my ass, dude. And by the way, as a recently pro JT show,
Yes.
I respect him saying that because I hated being mic'd up in the NFL. Anybody who knows anything about being mic'd up in the middle of a sporting event hates being mic'd up because even if they don't use it, somebody has it somewhere. Somebody has that somewhere just waiting. And if you're a player and you have a conversation or something of that nature with somebody else, maybe not even yourself, you don't want to set somebody else up for failure who might not be as polished as a speaker, it is a roll of the dice. And in the NFL, anytime you're mic'd up, rule number one, when you walk up to everybody, is literally tell them, I'm mic'd up right now. And that's for a reason, because nobody wants to be mic'd up. And that person is immediately alienated from all conversation for the entire game. I would assume the golfers have the same mindset as the NFL players. It's like, hey, you already got mics. What? The Skycam has a mic. You got mics on the centers during plays and quarterbacks. You have mics all around the side of the field. Like, hey, you guys are getting all the sound you could possibly want. If you want me to commentate this damn thing, we're going to have to renegotiate this contract. Although those Monday night films and mic'd up films are amazing, absolutely amazing. Watching what Peyton does and things of that nature, it's an inside look that you don't get to hear or see. But there's also some moments of Peyton, I would assume he doesn't like that it was out there from him being mic'd up. And if he was never mic'd up, the moments wouldn't be out there. So there's always like a roll of the dice here as a fan and as a player and ultimately together as humans.
Well said. Well said.
You see?
What a feel good.
It's a human out there. 17 minutes after the hour. We're back. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Closest to the pin from the helicopter is 127. Let's go!
That'll be July 10th. July 10th, the second annual Pat McAfee Foundation golf outing extravaganza happens July 10th. Money to be won, great times to be had, golf balls to be lost. Sign up now at thepatmcafeefoundation.org. I think only 7 spots left at this point. 7 foursomes left July 10th. Let's have a good time on a golf course together for a good cause.
It's a good time.
It is a good time.
It's a good time.
It is a good time.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down, I'm the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the 2 subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Leave the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big thigh. 2 10s, both sitting shoddy. Cracking fits, start getting rowdy. Blowing O's looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me it now. You probably wasn't expecting this. What? Expected this?
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Dwight Freeney will be joining us in about 8 minutes. There is some news to talk about because we are a daily live show. And to do that for us, our friend Nick dives into the world that is our world.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Yep.
Go ahead, Frankie boy.
Thank you, Pat. That was quite eloquent. Manscaped.
Yeah, we got it. Here you go, Nick.
What was that about being elegant?
Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code AMERICA. Big news out of NASCAR yesterday. After years of debate, NASCAR finally banned the display of the Confederate flag from all of their events nationwide. So this is something that they've been battling with and debating with internally since 2015 after the mass shooting by Dylan Roof in South Carolina. Back then, Chairman Brian France, whose grandfather started the National Association for Stock Car and Auto Racing in 1948, urged fans to refrain from displaying the Confederate flag. The track president at Daytona even offered up a program to turn in your Confederate flag that would give you a brand new American flag on the 4th of July that weekend.
How about that? It's like the Hernandez jersey swap
Yeah,
up there
exactly.
in New England.
Dale Jr. went back then on record, said it's offensive to an entire race and it belongs in the history books, and that's about it. It seems the tides have turned now with public sentiment being like, okay, maybe now's the time we get rid of it, and no longer will it be displayed at any NASCAR event.
I read the article I believe you are referencing in this thing, and it is interesting because NASCAR and the people who own the tracks had been putting out like, we strongly urge you not to bring Confederate flags to our races. And then there was even like a thing where you aren't allowed to bring them, but I would assume those flags can get folded up, and whenever you got hundreds of thousands of people going into a place, you can still get them in there. So you would still see them. And now I feel like NASCAR felt like this was a good time to be like, hey, listen, we all see what's going on. I feel like we're all a little bit more knowledgeable about the world that we're living in, and the things that potentially offend an entire race of people are much more known. We would like to make it official that not only are we telling you not to do it anymore, now it is completely prohibited. I assume they're going to ban people if they have them and find them in there, much like if you go to, like for instance, I went to Kevin Hart's show here in Indianapolis. They had a strong no phone policy. Strongest no phone policy I've ever seen in my entire life. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. How's this going to play out? They had 2 security guards basically for every single section. And if a phone was saw, you'd get flashlighted, the security would come to you and they would escort you out. And then they would delete whatever was on your phone, right? For a comedian, if somebody hears your joke, it's basically over. For a musician, they can hear a song. You can play a song 400, 500 times. For a comedian working out either a new set that isn't finished yet or for a joke that you've already told, you don't want to ruin an arena's reaction to it because this video was already made on the internet or something of that nature. But I never seen somebody do it as serious as Kevin Hart did. 5, 6 times for every opener, they would reiterate, do not use your phones tonight. You will get kicked out of here. That's what NASCAR will have to do then. If they really want to make it, because for 5 years they've been telling people not to do it and it's still been happening. Now that they're completely banning and prohibiting it, they're going to have to find the people and kick them out. And that is going to cause quite a scene, I would assume. Because there are people, it never made sense to me. I'm from Pittsburgh. Shout out to the North. Okay, we're above the Mason-Dixon. We got a dub. We're still undefeated. Then I went to West Virginia, a state that literally left Virginia so that they could join the Union. Then I came out to Indiana, a part of the Union, even though there are some deep hated history here in Indiana, a part of the Union. So I never understood the tie to the Confederate flag and why it is even still. I never understood it. Being from the North, being in America, I never understood why the Confederate flag was around. I still don't, by the way. But there's some people that, well, it's not about just, slavery. It's about the heritage of the South. It's like, well, isn't that the heritage? Isn't that kind of what the whole thing was about there for a little? So it never made sense. But I think the same people that are now telling NASCAR that they'll never come to another race and being upset about it, I think NASCAR is finally at the point where they're like, good. Don't come. That's fine with us. We don't care. You got Bubba Wallace having a Black Lives Matter car, an African-American race car driver. I think that is big, the banning on this thing. It may be, by the way, just like what happened to me, NASCAR is much more interesting after this sports lockout that is. I watched a couple of their races, still have been watching a couple of races, good races. Maybe NASCAR is like, hey, we got a good product. We can no longer have a stain on our product that could potentially be turning away millions and millions of people. But that's a tough decision whenever you're potentially turning away your entire fan base, because that's where NASCAR started at. So that's a tough decision. I'm happy they made it. I hope it works out. But I think people sneaking Confederate flags into races will continue. And those scenes of when they're trying to get rid of the flags and the people will be aggressive, if I had to guess. Anything else, Nick?
Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury have agreed to a 2-fight deal. Tyson Fury credited Daniel Kinahan for organizing the fight. And if you don't know anything about Daniel, Daniel is the eldest son of drug kingpin Christy Dapper Dawn Kinahan. So Daniel co-founded the MGM Boxer Management Company, which turned to MTK Global after they cut ties with him. Despite holding these positions in the boxing world, Kinahan has officially been banned from the United States after being placed on a list of narco-terrorists.
This was the guy that Tyson thanked in the video yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
So a drug lord got this deal? A narco-terrorist? What is that even? What is a narco-terrorist? Is that what Pablo Escobar was deemed at one point?
Probably.
So this dude that set up a fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, who Tyson Fury said, by the way, I'll handle Deontay Wilder, then I'll get to the big fight, which... hilarious, because just like a month ago or 2 months ago, the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight was the biggest fight on earth, and it was my introduction to Tyson Fury's greatness, by the way. So that the fact that a rematch is even happening, I think a lot of people are confused that aren't avid boxing fans, because Tyson Fury just, he just absolutely smoked Deontay Wilder. So much so that Deontay Wilder, and by the way, I bet on Deontay Wilder because it was an American versus a Brit. Shout out, I'm going on the American as hard as possible. I don't know anything about boxing. And then within probably a half a round of round one, I was like, oh, my guy's got no shot. My guy's got no chance. This big-ass guy is quicker than my guy. He seems like he's more prepared than my guy. He's fresher than my guy and seems to just have, I mean, his head was moving probably 45 times every 10 seconds, Tyson Fury doing that thing. And Deontay was just sitting there. Turns out he was tired because the 40-pound weight thing that he wore in, which did look awesome. He wore that thing in there. That held him down. But I think a lot of people were like, Deontay Wilder had a rematch clause in there. They were hoping that he wouldn't do that so Tyson Fury can move on and move forward. But if Tyson Fury loses that fight to Deontay Wilder, do you think the narco-terrorist in England is going to be upset about that? I would assume that's the case. Anthony Joshua had to beat Andy Ruiz Jr. for this to happen because that first loss in Madison Square Garden was massive. They go over to Saudi They go over to Saudi Arabia. Everybody knew Anthony Joshua was going to get that win because Andy Ruiz Jr., his first time smelling success, getting success. Your first time getting success is not easy to handle, especially if you're in a sport where you have to stay disciplined and things of that nature. And you're fighting in the middle of a desert, which was like 195 degrees or something like that. Felt like Anthony Joshua was set up for success in that second fight. But if they were to fight again in regular conditions, would Ruiz Jr. win? We don't know. But I know that narco-terrorist doesn't want that to happen. They want Tyson Fury coming in off that Deontay Wilder win and Anthony Joshua coming off that win. There's a chance Deontay Wilder stumbles that thing. And what will the narco-terrorists do after that? We don't know. But what an insane guy to put that thing together.
It's good to see that organized crime still has a spot in boxing.
Look at this. It's putting together the biggest fight in
to see.
British boxing history, they said.
It's good to see.
It is good to see. Why don't you give Freeney a call? Well, he'll be joining us here in the next minute or two. We're not going to go to a break until after that conversation. Is there anything else to chat about? That is insane, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you read into this guy a little bit, there's some pretty nefarious things that he's been alleged of doing.
And he's still out and about making deals happen for the biggest British boxing match in history.
He's exiled and lives in Dubai right now.
This guy in Dubai made the biggest boxing match in British history.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a mover and a shaker, man.
Yeah,
that guy's giving some phone calls. All right, we are now joined by a man who is an absolute stud. Super Bowl champ, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, a member of the Indianapolis Colts Hall of Fame. Our Ring of Honor will be a member of the Hall of Fame whenever the time comes. Out of Syracuse University, ladies and gentlemen, Dwight Freeney.
Yeah! Dwight! Woo! What's up, man? How are you, baby?
I'm great. I appreciate you joining us this morning. Let's get right into it. Jadeveon Clowney is still a free agent right now. Obviously, everybody knows the potential of Jadeveon Clowney. He doesn't rack up all the stats and numbers when it comes to getting the quarterback, but he is disruptive in his own fashion. It has been alleged that he turned down a 1-year deal from the Cleveland Browns. If you were Jadeveon Clowney and you had a chance to have Myles Garrett on a D-line alongside of you, how would that have helped him? And if you were him, is that a decision you would have thought about making?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think when you have somebody on the opposite side of you, it makes life a lot easier. And what's interesting is that, this game is about statistics and stats, right, Pat?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes in my career, even some of my better years, I didn't have the amount of stats, but no one knew it and no one cared. I was out there beating left tackle after left tackle, but only could barely get to 10 sacks. But that doesn't mean much to everybody else in the world because they see people with more sacks, ahead of you. So truth be told, he needs to have those statistics to really get himself on the next level of things. And for him to do that, I think he needs to play next to somebody else on the other side who's getting a lot of attention. So he can now shine, have those big sack years, maybe have one big sack year, and then after that, go into the free agency if that's what he wants to do.
Because when Robert Mathis showed up and you guys became 98, 93, Bring the Heat Boulevard, and let's race to the quarterback and everything like that, what was your initial mindset whenever you saw Robert not only transition from a special teamer into a workhorse into a dominant, strong side defensive end there? I mean, what was the mindset? You had to be so thankful at that point. Like, thank God we got a guy over there.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, to have a guy like Robert Mathis on the opposite side, I mean, it made my life so much easier. And the thing is, with pass rushers, John Turlin, rest his heart, rest in peace. Look, the more guys to get after the quarterback, the better. And I don't care if it's 3 guys, 4 guys, getting guys off the bench, guys on the opposite side. We're after one thing, and that's that quarterback. So you have somebody out opposite side that you know that's going to be bringing that heat like Robert Mathis did. It makes the other guys even more motivated. It gives them more energy. You get more one-on-one blocks. It's just, it's what you would want, all right? So you don't really want to be on the defensive line by yourself and be the only disruptor, because you're going to get all the attention, you're going to get all the double teams, and it's going to be hard for you to get those numbers.
As soon as I heard there was a chance for him to be with Myles Garrett, I think everybody in the AFC North was like, oh, please do not do that. And the Browns had enough money to make that play happen. Jadeveon Clowney allegedly turned them down. I see your shirt you're wearing. We also have that you're on Team Jordan there. Mike's your guy. What did you think about the Last Dance? I assume you watched that either before everybody else or at the same time as everybody else. What was your thoughts on that whole thing?
Oh, man, it was amazing. It was something that, I know Michael very well over the years. He's like my big brother. And, so I thought I knew a lot about what was going on, and I only knew half. It was great. It came at a perfect time, Pat, where no one was doing absolutely anything. I was watching the paint dry. I was looking for anything on television just to watch to entertain myself, man. It was tough. So when that came on, it was literally like, bucket of popcorn, feet up, ready to just get after it for the next 2 hours.
He came out before it was released and said that people are going to think he is potentially a hole of the ass, right? That's what he said. People are going to potentially think he's a bad guy. It has come out that some people that were in there didn't love how they were portrayed. But other than that, getting a chance to see how he, I don't want to say demanding and what held people accountable, but watching somebody at that elite level, like you were there. Peyton is up in that elite level, watching people that are great at what they do and live in a completely different sphere. Robert's one of those guys. There's a lot of those people that I've got to see to do it, but watch the way Jordan did it was insane. And then the conversations about him off the court, whether it's in golf, and that one guy $2 million or something of that nature.
Crazy.
And they only showed, by the way, him playing golf bad. Why is that? Was that him trying to hustle people, you think?
You know what? Knowing him, it might have. Listen, I play golf with that guy 3 to 4 times a week, and I have never seen him putt like how bad. That grip, the very first golf clip that they showed of him putting, it was the worst putting stroke I've ever seen. So I immediately text him right after. I said, really? Yeah. He said, look, I have one leg up on you if that's how you started. So hey, when I get 55, 56 years old, watch out. That's what I said to him. But in the end, look, people are going to say what they're going to say. You can't please everybody, Pat. In the end, you know what? I think it was just a blessing to be able to see behind the curtain of what was going on that team and what his mindset was. Without that, we would have never known. Okay. Unfortunately, yes, there are some truths that came out that people are going to have to deal with, but that is what it is. That is what happened. And they was just recording what happened and letting the world know at a pivotal time, because that's what we needed. No sports. This was great.
That Utah pizza guy, he's been telling stories for so long. He's been telling everybody he knows about. I brought pizza to Michael Jordan the night before Game 6. I was there. Me and him had a good conversation. And then he's been telling everybody in Utah about this story. And then this thing comes out, and he's like, everybody's starting to send him text. You got him the pizza, huh? Was that you? No, it was not me.
Yeah, exactly. He might be a hero in Utah, but outside of Utah, he's probably the most hated pizza guy in the world.
Team Jordan is donating $100 million over the next 10 years. I know that Jordan team is a tight group. It really is like it's like a fraternity for the greats in the sports world coming together. Were you part of any of those conversations? Do you still keep up with the Team Jordan stuff? And when did you get into Team Jordan? What year was that in your career?
I think it was around 07, 08, around there. It's definitely an elite group. And, he brings certain guys. Not everybody can be on the team. And, he likes specific guys for whatever reasons he likes them. And I was blessed to be a part of Team Jordan. And obviously now I feel even more special because of what he's doing for, a lot of those black community out there donating $100 million over the next 10 years. I mean, it tells you, their commitment into trying to make things better in this crazy time right now.
Do you guys have like summits? Is it like, hey, somebody gets like a bird call and like Team Jordan, we need every great athlete to come down to Florida. Like, do you guys
like Transformers, right? Forms transform, whatever. So in the end, you know what? Every year there is a summit. I know in years past they held every summer where people who are part of the Team Jordan, the brand, come together in a certain location. People can golf. You bring your wives, you bring your kids, you go out there. We talk about some of the new things that they're going to think about doing from a fashion standpoint, maybe having a little bit of messaging within their fashion stuff, kind of just talking about how important social media is and their platforms of different players to get their message out there. So every year, they get together, okay, and they have like this Jordan Summit every summertime to go out there and really, hey, listen, this is what we're talking about this year. This is what we're thinking about this year. We want your input on how we can become what you want us to become as in Brand Jordan.
I was trying to send him my tape to get recruited to Team Jordan. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be a long shot to be a punter on Team Jordan, but I was giving it my go, Dwight.
Very long shot.
You said you play golf with him 3 to 4 times a week?
3 to 4 times a week, Pat.
Hey, I've heard about his golf games, Dwight, and I've seen you in action too. Those things have to be electric to be a part of, I assume.
It's one of the best golfing groups we got. It's so funny. It's like you think you know how to play golf, or you think you could play fast until you play with their group. We get 36 holes in 5.5 hours to 6 hours every single time we play. All right, and that's with 6 guys, Pat. Wow. That's not with 4 guys. All right, it's like 4 guys. You think, okay, that's going to take 8 hours. No, 6 guys. It takes 5.5 hours, and it might take 5.5 hours because I can't find my ball half the time. It takes 5 hours, right?
So it's just everybody has their own cart. Obviously, you get to ball, you hit ball. I'll see you at the green, basically.
Yes, hit the ball, and hey, listen, if you get hit, oh well. All right? that's just what it is. All right? That's part of the game. Avoiding other guys' shots as you hit your ball just brings it to another level. Right?
Are you a fisherman at all?
You know what? I went out a couple times. He invites me, and I go out, and I like to fish. But the thing is this, this actually last year was the first time I've ever been fishing. I'd never been fishing. My father never brought me up that way, so I had no idea. I like the competitive factor of it, but when MJ goes fishing, it's like, some people go fishing in the morning for 3 hours and come back. He fishes for like 8 hours, man. So it's like you'll go out, you'll wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're back at like 5 p.m. like a work day. I don't know if I like fishing that much, but I do enjoy it a little bit. But this trip, what he's on right now, is great. He told me about it prior to that he was going. I told him, hey, good luck. I also told him this. I said, look, I'm you when you retired. Because when he retired, fishing was not part of the conversation. It was all about golf. This is the only thing he worried about was golf. He just wanted to golf. Okay, now he's like 55 or 56. Now he wants to go fishing and stuff like that and drag me along. I'm like, no, I'm doing what you did. All right? I want to be like Mike, right? I want to golf until I just can't golf anymore. And then when I'm done with that, then I'll go fishing, all right, when I'm 50 years old.
How do you feel? How's the body feel? You were always a guy that took very good care of yourself. You had the nutritionist way before the nutritionist world came in. You were drinking the high pH water. I remember you really taking care of your body before everybody else. How is the body now after obviously a long career of banging around with a bunch of grown-ass men out there?
Yeah, I know, man. Knock on wood, it's still doing good. The body feels good. It was a blessing for me. The reason why I retired wasn't because physically I couldn't do it anymore, and I think that was one thing that was a goal for me, when I got later in my career. I got hurt in San Diego I think in 2013 or something like that. And I told myself, look, I want to leave on my own terms. All right. And I don't want it because of an injury of why I left. So I played another 3 or 4 years after that. And funny, I tell people when I was in year 16, I felt better than I was in year 10, because of how my body felt. It was absolutely great. But so right now I'm still feeling good.
Who are those dudes in gis?
What'd you say?
You know who I'm talking about. Those dudes that showed up in karate suits when your ankle was... I told this story the other day. I was like, there was these body gurus that were in full karate gis that showed up. Because Dwight, you had like a dislocated ankle or something. I forget. You had this massive ankle injury going into the Super Bowl. And the conversation was, listen, we will take any advice from anybody if they think that we can get Freeney's ankle good enough to play, because obviously the pass game for the Saints was massive. So Freeney could barely walk all week of the Super Bowl. Then Super Bowl comes, this son of a bitch gets a sack in the game, hits a spin move on a guy, makes no sense. And the only thing I thought of afterwards was like, not only is Aaron Burrill obviously and the entire training staff of the Colts awesome, but these dudes that were in gis. Who the hell were these dudes in gis?
Hilarious. Yeah. So it was Leon Melman. Okay. Leon Melman is a chiropractor and a nutritionist that I've been dealing with. I dealt with his mother first. And then, when she passed away, then I dealt with him. And he is just a master when it comes to chiropractic, soft tissue stuff. He's a guy, part of my team that I worked with year in and year out. So he was a part of that team trying to get me ready. And it was a blessing that I was in South Florida because his practice was in South Florida. So, when he gets ready to go, he puts on that quote unquote karate suit, right? and then he gets going, man, and he gets after it. And hey, that was a grade 3, I think, ankle sprain. So I didn't even have ligaments. They weren't really even attached, and somehow I was able to play. They told me I was out 4 to 6 weeks for sure. And somehow in 2 weeks I was able to play. So, big ups to him, man, and him getting me right.
Hey, I don't know who he was, but I remember that guy in the gi. If I ever have an interesting situation or I need to get back for something, I'm calling Karate Kid. Ladies and gentlemen, future Hall of Famer, great teammate, member of Team Jordan, an absolute good human, Dwight Freeney. We can't thank you enough.
Attaboy, Dwight!
Hey, man, thank you for having me, boss.
Thank you, Free. I'll talk to you soon. We have to get to a break for radio here, and then we'll be back on the other side. YouTube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. Some phone calls during the break. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know why you do, but I thank you that you do. Ty's got to go take a shit. Ty's got a little Bee Gees, a couple bubble guts out there. Dwight Freeney's so good. That dude is so good at football. You know what I mean?
Nightmare.
Like, for instance, Pat White doesn't get talked about enough for being so good at football and college football, which I think whenever he becomes a head coach for a team relatively soon, because right now I think he's quarterback's coach or running backs coach for USF, and he's smart and he's good. He'll get up there. I think that's whenever his highlights will start coming back out and people are like, oh, damn, Pat White was really fucking good. We forgot about that. And probably because it's my fault. I missed those 2 kicks. We won a national championship. Everybody knows who Pat White is. He was hurt in that game, which also sucks. But you know what I'm saying. It's probably my fault why nobody knows about him. That's why I will continue to bang the drum of Pat White being the most electrifying football player in the top 3 list or whatever. Dwight Freeney in the NFL, same thing. Nobody really talks about Dwight Freeney. You know what I mean? He was unbelievable to watch and great teammate. I mean, great. He sent a limo to pick me up one night whenever I was in Indianapolis, intoxicated, because my car, I drove down. I was supposed to be a sober driver. I drove down. One thing led to another. Okay, keys going in pocket. I get a call from him. He either had maybe something going on at his house where he asked me to go. I'm like, I'm out. I'm going to do this or whatever. He gave me like a be safe thing or whatever. Nice. Then a couple hours later, he was like, you're not driving, right? I said, no. He said, I got you. Where are you coming? And he sent me a limo to pick me up.
Awesome.
Wow.
This is Dwight Freeney doing this.
Growing up, I didn't like 2 players, Peyton Manning and Dwight Freeney, because he was a nightmare for the Patriots.
He was so good. When Chuck got to our team, they were trying to change the defensive scheme, and they were trying to make Dwight Freeney be a stand-up. They tried to move it to him to be like an outside linebacker as opposed to a defensive end. So they were paying him $17 million a year because of how good he was at tackling the quarterback, right? That's what he was. That's why he got paid what he got paid. And they changed the scheme. And Irsay was like, "This is my guy. Like, you're not just going to get rid of this guy." So he would literally only play on third downs, basically, in passing situations. So he would stand on the sideline, and then he would go in on third downs. I would assume that Freeney was very pissed off about this happening, right? And they tried to do it to Robert as well. They tried to get Robert to stand up. He was a little bit better at it, but wasn't like those two or whatever. So then in the middle of the season, there was a speech given by somebody. It wasn't Chuck. It was somebody. They were like, whenever we used to play the Colts, quarterbacks wouldn't sleep at night. Offensive linemen wouldn't sleep at night because they know 98 and 93 are coming or whatever. And they're like, we need to get back to that or whatever. And then they broke it up. And then a couple people were like, yo, motherfuckers, change the scheme. Yeah. you want those two to kind of eat, but you literally just change everything they're about. And then when Freeney went on to have success in other places, it was like, okay, this guy still got it. But in the locker room, he was amazing. He was so cool. And the fact that he stood on the sideline, never griped, by the way. Never, ever gripe. Team Jordan player, elite player, $17 million a year. Now, granted, people would be like, well, he's getting paid that much. That's not how competitive humans work. Like that's not how it goes. He was losing reps, losing stats, losing sacks, and everything like that. He's a good dude. I've always been very thankful for how Dwight Freeney treated me. And when he shouldn't have, by the way. He shouldn't have treated me the way he did.
Do you think that he's ever considered getting into like broadcasting or commentating?
He's so good. It makes no sense.
He is.
They had him on NFL Network, and he did his entire like breakdown of what he's doing at defensive end and how everybody thinks it's just athletes, but really it's just a bunch of chess. Like, you're setting people up. I'm setting a guy up with this. Maybe I'm showing something on film a week before that I know that guy is potentially going to have to watch. I mean, there's a lot of thought goes to it. And watching him and Robert Matheson, that John Tierling, JT, the coach, rest in peace. He just passed away a couple weeks ago. That unit there was just like, hey, we hate quarterbacks here and we get to quarterbacks. And then new staff comes, new scheme. It was like a whole different world. It was like, where are you guys at? They said. I was like, I just punt the ball. You got him on the sideline most of the game. Like, I see him standing. Everyone, he'll go stand. Me and Dwight Freeney are standing on the sideline next to each other for rather pivotal defensive plays. I don't know if that's the right move, but that's what you guys chose to do. So if we want to see that, fucking happen again, maybe we just go back to what we had there. He obviously left after that year, but that guy in the gi was unbelievable too.
Is this him?
Oh. What's that?
Is this the
gi?
I don't know. I can't see. Yeah. Yes, that might be. Yes, that is him. And there's the gi, the whole thing. It's a black gi. He had a blue one whenever he came to the Colts.
I was trying to find the full body, but this is the only one I could get.
Custom, too.
Bro, he couldn't even walk. The dude couldn't even walk. They had him in like a full thing because his ankle was just shredded or whatever. And then Super Bowl, he hits a spin move on a guy, gets a sack. It's like, I'm calling that gi guy if I ever.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron Burrell doesn't get enough credit. We're back in like 10 seconds for radio. We'll have like a minute and a half before a hard out for the hour. We will answer calls during that time. I apologize. We got no conversation about Dwight Freeney's greatness there. That was a very loud whistle.
It's good, though.
Good, yeah, good.
Yeah,
strong.
but you can't whistle into the. People got dogs around right now? My dog at my house right now is losing its mind. Both of them. Because that's my exact whistle cadence as soon as I get home, or if I'm on a FaceTime and you just want to see the ears perk up, you know, like you feel a little love there. That's what's probably happening in a lot of houses, but definitely in my house. 52 minutes after the hour, we got about like a minute and a half here. We should definitely talk about what we covered in this hour. The AFL is back this morning. Aussie Rules football diehard fans hated the game, thought it was sloppy. It was shorter than normal. Guys are coming off of a 3-month quarantine. It's hard in quarantine, I assume, to punt balls. You kind of have to go out into public to be able to do that. So there was some missed kicks and stuff like that. But to my virgin AFL eyes, I thought it was a great game this morning. Awesome. Only thing we hated was that it ended in a draw. You're set up to literally do penalty kicks or something like that. Just let them at least get half a point for a win so we can at least leave that whole thing saying, you know what, somebody won, somebody lost. But I can't wait for the next couple games tomorrow and Saturday. So the AFL fans that think they potentially blew it with American fans, I say, it was awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of the game.
Friday and Saturday, there's games at 11 o'clock Eastern, so it's a good opportunity for us to watch those without having to wake up at a weird time.
11 p.m. Eastern?
Yes.
Who's playing tomorrow 11 p.m.?
Great question. I will look it up.
Okay, so that'll be a game we'll do a watch-along with for those that aren't out and about. We were supposed to go to Arizona this weekend for Trevor Bauer's live at-bats with Momentum, his content company, but Arizona right now is becoming a place that's about to be locked down, I believe, due to the Rona. I believe.
Friday night at 11:45 p.m. Brisbane and Fremantle, and then Saturday night the GWS Giants in North Melbourne at 11:05 p.m.
Sounds good. Find a team you want to pull for. We're back on the other side for radio. Thursday, June 11th. We have a doctor joining us in the next hour. Dr. Myron Roll. We'll talk to him about the Rona. We'll talk PGA. We'll talk AFL. And we'll talk to you. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Hour 2 is on the other side. Thanks for listening. All right, let's get to some phones. Here's Camden in Texas. I got a lot of these tweets yesterday, so I want to feel like I was lied to potentially.
Okay.
By people that know UFC in here. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. Ooh. I was told, and by the way, to my amateur eye, I was told that the Fight Island cards on July 11th, 15th, 18th, and 24th were kind of a weak lineup, is what I was told. Got a lot of tweets telling me that I'm a fucking idiot. Don't know anything. This is Camden in Texas. I believe he's on that train. What's going on, Camden?
Pat, I know you didn't say that the card was going to be bad.
Thank you.
But people were saying the card was going to be bad. But I'm here to assure you that 251 is looking real good. We got 3 title fights. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns at the 170. Okay. Now, Gilbert Burns coming out of nowhere. He's going to be looking real good.
Or real bad. That's why he's coming out of nowhere. But I am on your side. I like the Usman guy. I did not know Usman was fighting in this until somebody tweeted me calling me an idiot for saying that somebody else said that it was a bad fight card.
Yeah. Additionally, we have Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski, too. Max Holloway is a real technical guy. He looked real good in the last fight, but I'll tell you what, Alexander Volkanovski, he just laid it on him, so it's going to be a real good rematch. Holloway will be ready for it. And finally, Jose Aldo versus Piotr Jan at the 135. Jose Aldo's going to cut down again versus Piotr Jan. It's going to be a real good fight. So we got 3 title fights. And we got some badass women, too.
Okay. Is it Nunes fighting again?
We've got Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade and Paige Van Zandt versus Amanda Heba.
Okay, Camden, I appreciate the update there. I've heard of the Paige Van Zandt lady. UFC was pushing her there for a little bit. I've heard of Usman. I've heard of Max Holloway. Jose Aldo is the guy who got 6 seconds against McGregor or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's a good fighter, though. He is. That's why it was such a big deal, because Conor. So maybe we're a little bit undersold by our MMA expert friends about how that fight card was going to be. Maybe it's going to be, it's 2 humans fighting each other in a cage trying to kill each other. I'm going to watch. I just want to let that be known. But is there no opportunity for a sugar show at this thing? Is there no potential thug nasty coming in? I think that is the issue. Each one of these past fights have had these moments. Who's the dude that just ran straight and just clobbered?
Ngannou.
Yeah, that guy. Is Usman an entertaining fighter? I'd assume he's an entertaining fighter.
I think so. I think I've watched like one fight of his. I think the point you were making too,
we know nothing about it,
is that they should have had Cormier and Miocic be on Fight Island, because that would have been like like everyone knows about that.
And maybe we potentially have Cormier on the show at some point.
Yeah. The real disappointing thing is that at Fight Island they're not actually fighting like on the beach. It's going to be, I believe, inside. So that's kind of tough.
Here's Nick in Dublin, Ireland. We got a call from Dublin. Hey, Dublin.
Hey, Pat. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Oh my God! Can you say that? Can you say I'm the king of me fight game?
I'm the king of me fight game.
And say that Nate Diaz is say Nate. He sound. I feel like there's a little Conor McGregor here in this sound, and that might strictly be my amateur ear just hearing an Irish person speak and being excited about it. But I'm happy that you called in here, sir. What do you want to talk about, Nick?
Okay, one thing I want to do is say, listen, in a tough spot, and thanks very much for all the sort of the mental health that your show has given me over the last 12 weeks.
We appreciate you, Nick. We appreciate you riding alongside us, Nick. We appreciate you, man.
Okay, you're talking about Essendon, the AFL. My cousin's actually an international rookie. Came from Ireland, plays over there. There's a lot of Irish guys that feed into the Australian system. That's due to, we play a compromise rules, which is a series, which is essentially Catholics versus convicts, the original. Irish All-Stars play the Australian All-Stars in a compromise game, and it's literally carnage. You look at the highlights of that, and you'll understand that is carnage. But what I wanted to say to you is, the top 2 sports in Ireland are Gaelic football and hurling. They have one commissioner, and our commissioner is a New York representative.
And
really? We've gone over?
hurling is played at 180 kilometers an hour.
So I've heard of hurling. Thanks for the call, Nick. We appreciate you. Thanks for being along. I've heard of hurling. I've never seen hurling or Gaelic football. I think one involves a stick.
Yeah, that's hurling.
Hurling involves a stick.
Yep.
And then Gaelic football, is it like?
I remember posting a clip one time, and someone's like, "That's Gaelic football. That's always like that." And I remember it being awesome.
He said 180 kilometers an hour.
That is very fast.
And carnage happens whenever the Irish AFL play against the Australia AFL All-Stars. I feel like we're learning a lot about the world here. How did I not know any of this shit existed, by the way? I'm 33 years old.
No way to find it over here.
Big world.
Good morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, June 11th. Hour 2 kicks off with some news from the other side of planet Earth. The AFL kicked off its round 2 this morning at 5:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time over here in America on Fox Sports 1. It was a delightful match to watch. Did I see the first half? No. Woke up for the second half. Loved what I was watching. It was intense. It was insane. It was mayhem. It looked like a sport. Diggs described it as this, and I believe that it was designed in a backyard. Then it got bigger, 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 and it's just passion, high intensity, big hits, kicks, missed kicks, catches, you name it. The sport is littered and riddled with awesome things. And this morning, it ended with the only one non-awesome thing I think the sport has, which is it was a draw. It was a tie. The game ended with no winner. I woke up a little bit earlier to watch the second half of that thing, and it ended with nobody winning. I was like, hey, can't happen. They've been around for 124 years. Let my ADD mind just throw one little thing out there, have them stand at the 50-meter thing, have them kick through the uprights, have 5 of them do a penalty kick, make it a half a point thing, whatever you got to do. But I love the game. A lot of the Aussie Rules football fans said that because it was shortened quarters and they were coming out of the rust, it was the worst game that they've ever seen. It was the lowest scoring game since 1999 and all that. But as my untrained eye watched, I love the sport, excited for that. They got 2 more games tomorrow, a few this weekend. I would recommend watching that if you find some time. This afternoon and right now, the Charles Schwab Challenge in the PGA has started. Woo. The PGA is back. Golfers have been taking each other on in challenges for charity and things of that nature, but now the PGA is back down in Fort Worth, Texas. Justin Thomas has come out and said, hey, listen, I'll play in this golf thing because I love golf and I think people like me now, which, by the way, this office is very much one of those. We hated Justin Thomas when he got that person kicked out of the golf tournament because he was heckling him a bit. It's like, hey, you don't want the heat? Don't come in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. So I thought Justin Thomas was a little bit weak, a guy that I wouldn't want to hang out with. But then he was on the on-course commentator for the Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Phil Mickelson thing, and I loved the guy. Loved his personality. Hated how he called everybody by their first initial and last initial, but I loved Justin Thomas, became a big Justin Thomas fan. Now Justin Thomas is making news because going into this, he does not want to be mic'd up for the tourney. I would not wear a mic. No, that's not me. What I talk about with Jimmy and what I talk about with the guys in my group is none of anybody else's business. No offense, seriously. But I personally am not one that would care to get mic'd out there. Justin Thomas at the Charles Schwab Challenge. Justin Thomas, just a few months ago, probably would have been buried for this by this team right here.
Oh, yeah.
But now that I like Justin Thomas a little bit more, and I have been in this situation before with the NFL wanting to mic up players, I respect Justin Thomas saying this. He went on to say that you got mics at the tee box, you got mics on the green, you have mics everywhere, you're already hearing enough, but our private conversations should remain our private conversations. Whether they're to get an advantage, like sometimes you want to talk about something that you have for your team, like for in the NFL, you want to talk about a play design, maybe something like that. Yeah, they might not air it on TV. They might, without even knowing it, they might not air it on TV. But that video is going somewhere. That information is going somewhere. Maybe guys who aren't as polished as speakers come over and say something stupid that could, maybe get somebody in some trouble. They don't want to do that. In the NFL, if you're mic'd up, you have to walk up to other players and literally tell them, I am mic'd up. Do not talk to me for the rest of the day. And that's just how it is. I was never mic'd up. Adam Vinatieri was never mic'd up. Matt Overton was mic'd up one night. We didn't talk to him the entire night. It was a bad night. It's just one of those things where you already have microphones. In football, you have them all around the field. There's big-ass shield satellite things that people hold. They're always there. You got mics on centers in the middle of the football field, refs and sky cams. There's enough information and sound to go everywhere that everybody's like, listen, you already got enough. Don't be trying to ruin what conversations I can have with my teammates, and whether it becomes the sport or off the field or anything of that nature. Don't ruin that. And on the flip side, though, fans are like, hey, when you're mic'd up, some of that content is amazing. When you hear guys like George Kittle, he's mic'd up every game, always comes out with something great. Every player that's mic'd up has something great happen to him, except if you're Sam Darnold. Then whenever you say you see ghosts, your life gets ruined for the rest of your life, basically, because of the mic'd up situation. So there is very much in every sport a very negative connotation towards being mic'd up. Now, is that changing a little bit because we're growing into a content society with a younger generation that understands that everything should be filmed, everything can be content? Maybe that is the case. But if I'm Justin Thomas, I completely understand where he's coming from. And I know that what Justin Thomas is probably going to have to talk about if he's mic'd up is how Phil Mickelson's winning the whole damn tournament.
And it could be a thing like he saw in the match or whatever, even though Tom hold it out, but when he hit the shot, like the mic pack went flying off. I'm like, it's just something you have to deal with, that you just, in addition to actually playing 18 holes against the best players in the world.
And what if you have a good read on a green and you and your caddy want to talk about it? Like, hey, everybody thinks this one's breaking right. This one actually stays a little flat. Let's go ahead and go for that. Who knows who's going to hear that? What if they accidentally put that on TV? Now what? Phil Mickelson's watching it back. You know, there's people in NFL buildings, I would assume, that watch TV versions trying to catch cadences and audibles and things of that nature. So not only is it the personal side of what the conversations could be, and maybe Justin Thomas and his caddy, by the way, have real life conversations out there to kind of, because you're walking a long time. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never been a professional golfer, but I know on golf courses I have real conversations with people. Maybe that's why. But also competitive advantages too. I like it, but I'm happy the PGA's back. Let's go.
Yeah. By the way,
let's go.
Phil has started pretty well. He's -2 through 8. The leaders are -4.
Yeah, Phil's hitting hellacious seeds and big bombs with his calves all over the place. In this hour, we have Dr. Myron Roll joining us to talk about the Rona coming on the other side of this thing, because it feels like for the last, month in a lot of the country, there has not been much worry about the pandemic because there's real world and future good of America things happening. So people have been around each other. But I guess Arizona has had quite a spike in the Rona cases. I guess Texas as well. But now I want to talk to Dr. Myron Roll here in about 34 minutes. Like, are these cases just going to happen forever? Like, is this something that's going to be like the flu? Or are these people potentially dying out there? And are we going back into lockdown? Now, no doctor's allowed to give you like a guess answer. He has to give me definitive answers. But I want to let you know, I will poke and prod for these answers.
There's going to be some good information to be had out of there.
Yeah, because
no one's talked about it in a long time.
Are we? Because the talk early in the quarantine was, we stay home for a couple weeks, we'll slow down the curve, and then we'll all get back to life. Mm-hmm. That turned into 3 months. And then at the end of the 3 months, obviously, protests happened across the country in every city. Everybody was on the same page. Then the pandemic people started bitching, there's going to be a second wave. The second wave is going to be even worse than the first. It's going to be even worse than 3 months of lockdown. It's going to be even worse than that. How is that? And I think those people got written off. But now you see Arizona happening. It's like, are we just going to have to live in a world where we deal with people getting the Rona? Or are we all potentially dead if we get the Rona at this point? Because that was the initial statement was, remember they had nets on people's heads dragging them down?
Oh, yeah.
There was people getting locked in hospitals that were just waiting. People were getting, because the thought was if you get the Rona, you're dead. Is there going to have to be a re-education process about how you're not automatically dead? Because I think that's how a lot of people feel. I think a month into the quarantine, I thought there was no chance people would get back into public and get back into places because of the things that we knew then. But now that we're sitting here 3 months later after this whole thing, I think people are excited to get back into public and around people. I think the protests have even proven that even more people love being around. Now, granted, it's not always been good in the protests because there's people that are around each other on this side and there's people around each other on this side, and they were potentially pitching two different things, and there was a little bit of a scuffle buffle, but the people were together. I just want to know from Myron Roll, what's BS and what isn't, Myron? Hey, Doc.
Just tell us.
You're the only doc that'll come on your show. Just let me know what's real, what isn't real. I know nothing else. You just let me know.
Yeah, especially in those big cities like New York where they said they did flatten the curve because the quarantine was so, like, you couldn't go out of your house. And then you see how many people are getting together together in these protests. Like, it'll be very interesting to see those massive cities if their rates start to skyrocket.
Well, but I do believe there is a big difference between people getting corona, because I assume when the flu came through, that was quite. Imagine having to lay around your toilet because your body is pooping and puking at the same time. Like the first time people got the flu. Imagine oh yeah, my mom got it, and both ends. Both ends for a couple days. Couldn't even move, tired, bedridden, and then somebody probably, grandma got it, both ends, passed away, right? Like the flu, I assume when the flu first came into our lives, and I don't know, I have no idea, I've done zero research with this, but I would assume when the flu came in, it was quite an alarming thing to society. The Rona, is this going to be the new flu? Is this going to be Dr. Myron Roll will tell us. Will he give us the actual answer? I don't know.
He's a stand-up guy.
Yeah, he's gotta.
He told me in the last conversation we had, which I think was a great conversation, the best conversation I would be able to have with a doctor happened with Dr. Myron Roll. And he said a couple times, though, in medicine we have to deal with definites, right? It can't be potential or anything like, because this is when hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak were coming out there, and he was talking about how, some studies have said that they prove and it's good, but in medicine, we and doctors, we have to prove indefinites because you have lives on the line and things of that nature. And I just went to him, I don't need the definite, doc. I just need am I okay to go down into Lucas Oil Stadium with my sledgehammer, pound that anvil, then crowd surf and high five and lick everybody's faces? That's what I want to know.
Yes or no?
Yes, just tell me.
It's easy.
Easy answer. Yes or no? He won't be allowed to do that, though. And that's why he's a Rhodes Scholar. PGA's back. AFL is back. The MLS.
Here we go.
Here we go, MLS.
Woo!
Major League Soccer is still a league. The MLS is still happening. David Beckham owns the team now. I believe that they are potentially coming off that Zlatan Ibrahimovic run. They do have a little bit of buzz, a little bit of hype for the MLS. They averaged 259,000 viewers last season. Not a bad show at all. That's a lot of humans. I would assume they would like that number to go up. They are going to have a 54-game World Cup-style tournament down in Orlando, Disney World, starting on July 8th. So that's coming before the NBA goes down to Orlando. Will that 54-game tournament be done by July 31st? No. When the NBA comes down there, will there be some MLS teams that get kicked out of their hotels because potentially Braun would like a hotel? Potentially.
Probably.
But I do like that there's a World Cup-like thing happening here, 54-game tourney. It's just like March Madness. You can pick a team that you have even if you weren't an MLS fan, which we were not MLS fans here. We can pick a team and say, hey, here we go. This is my horse. Bet on them and kind of go through the thing. It could be good. Just like everybody gets into the World Cup every 4 years. I get into it because I like to yell obnoxiously about us beating other countries and things of that nature. But we can treat this the same exact way whenever who?
Fire Don.
The Fire, Chicago Fire. Chicago, are they still a team?
Oh, yeah.
Chicago Fire. Columbus Crew, are they still a team?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They were almost not a team.
I keep saying, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you're on there. There's a lot of change,
idea.
I think. There's a lot of turnover. Those ones over there in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
And
Sounders.
Atlanta. Those are the ones that really move. Portland Timbers and
Yep.
the Seattle Sounders.
Revolution.
The DC Revolution. I
New
believe.
England Revolution. Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's in Foxborough.
DC
Oh, yeah.
United.
They play at Gillette. Yep.
DC United had Wayne Rooney. The Atlanta United, that team down there, they sell out the Sphincter Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
The Mercedes-Benz thing.
New York Red Bulls.
MLS they had Thierry Henry at one point, if I do recall.
Yep.
NYCFC.
Yeah. See, that's a new team that Diggs definitely didn't know existed.
They are Baby Blue, I believe.
Yeah, they had Pure Low on there.
Look at you. You're a sport guy. Sporty. Orlando's housing a lot of stuff. MLS is back. NBA might not be back, though, I guess.
MLS is definitely getting the lower hotel rooms, I assume.
I would assume. That's the case. Even though, hey, the MLS is trying to make something happen here July 8th. They should be treated with fairness. But I believe there's probably in the agreement with Disney World that if any one of the NBA teams are looking for your particular hotel room, you're going to have to get your asses out of bed and move. This is just something that could potentially happen. And it's not the MLS's fault. Well, it kind of is, actually. If your sport was bigger, it would be able to do that. But that is just how it works. That's a shame. I don't like it. Hey, I grew up playing soccer. I don't like that LeBron James is going to come kick us soccer guys out of it. But there's a chance that's going to happen down in Orlando. But Orlando has 144,000 rooms or something like that. They have the second most hotels in America behind, what's the number one city? It's an insane city.
It was in Arizona. I believe it was Phoenix or Scottsdale or something.
There's a place.
Albuquerque?
No, it was not Albuquerque.
It's New Mexico.
Las Vegas is up there, but I thought Las Vegas would be the number one hotel place, or Orlando would be the number one hotel place. Orlando, I guess, is number 2 behind a city that is not Las Vegas. I don't know who it is, but there's players now, NBA players, just like what happened with the NHL, how the NHL laid out a roadmap. The NHL laid out a 24-game tournament. Then Bettman came on to TV and said, this is what we're going to do. We need to find these 2 hub cities still. We need to get player approval. So they were laying out a roadmap, and then all the real stuff that would have to get negotiated wasn't anywhere near being figured out. It's just like the MLB, kind of how they tossed out what they were thinking about doing, but all the real negotiation never happened. Adam Silver was very, very patient in his announcing of what the NBA would do, but then they came out with a plan, 22-team tournament, 8 more games. If you're in 9 seed and you're within 4 games of the 8 seed, you can try to bump the 8 seed out of the spot. 13 teams from the West, 9 teams from the East. That they laid out all that stuff, but there's a lot of negotiation that still had to happen between the NBA and its players, and especially in the world that we're currently in right now. And a lot of players, I guess 40 to 50 of them, were on a conference call yesterday talking about some of their problems that they have with the plan that has how it's been laid out. Whether it's being trapped in Orlando for a time that they don't want to be trapped in, away from their families. If there's something socially that they would like to get involved with that is happening, whether it's speaking to legislatures, I'd assume, or something of that nature. These are very noted people in the black culture and community. They're saying if we're trapped in Orlando, we can't leave and go do that type of stuff, even if we don't have games because of safety or whatever. And then if you come back, you have a 10-day quarantine, allegedly. So there's a lot of things that still have to get figured out for this NBA tournament to happen. But it feels as if there's no reason for us to think it's not. But I think Adam Silver and the NBA have a lot longer road than they think, especially after they said several dozen players have addressed some alarms and concerns that they have. That's a lot of players, especially in the NBA, that doesn't have a lot of players in the negotiation process of figuring it out.
You kind of predicted this months ago when they were talking about the biodome thing. It was for different reasons, but you said that like the NBA players, like you see it hard for them to like being trapped somewhere for 3 months. Yeah.
Anybody, by the way, or 2 months. And if you're one of those teams that's 9 to 13 in the West or number 9 in the East, you lose your first 2 games of your 8 games, you're probably out of the playoff conversation altogether. Now you're still down in Disney for another 6 games away from your family. There's a lot that they have to figure out from the human side of things, but nothing has told me that the NBA won't figure this out. They're going to have to do something because that'll be electric to watch. And maybe the MLS knows that there's several dozen. They're like, oh, we can get in there and get the good hotels now. Our MLS players will go down there. Where do you want? Yeah, we'll go stay. We'll stay down there for 4 years if you want us to do it. Let's just do it. Let's get some airtime here.
So, yeah, for the hotels, Vegas has the most rooms with 153,000. And then Phoenix is the most hotels with almost 600 hotels. And then Orlando is second with 144,000 rooms.
Yeah, so Phoenix has the most hotels. Vegas has the most rooms.
Correct.
And Orlando has 144,000?
Yes.
I can't believe I remembered that. I feel very good about that.
Good tourism stat.
It is a good
Great tourism.
Well, big for, University of Phoenix graduation. When they get everybody in there.
Oh, come on. Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald did get his degree finally from the University of Phoenix. That was announced while he was playing in the University of Phoenix Stadium. I assume that those classes were very difficult for Larry Fitzgerald to attain, but congratulations to him. I've never graduated from college. Shout out to me, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Kanye West,
Zuckerberg.
and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yep.
No big deal. 17 minutes after the hour, got to get to a radio break. A doctor joins us in 23 minutes. During the break, we'll do some YouTube questions. So if you're not in the YouTube comment section, go ahead and get in there. I got a chance to dabble in the YouTube comment section last night.
It's a fun time.
Had a good time in there. Just laying in my bed, just talking to people in the comment. That's a good place.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, granted, the whole world calls it the cesspool of our society. But we dive in there and take some questions because we think our YouTube comment section can change that narrative. We're back on the other side of the comment section. I should have done it. All right. My man. Every once in a while, we like to dive deep into the annals of the internet and the YouTube comment section for some YouTube questions.
YouTube questions.
What do we got, Zeets?
Coming from Damon Stevens, he goes, who was Pat's favorite off-field teammate?
That's a great question. My rookie year, the draft class that I was drafted to the Indianapolis Colts alongside was a very mature group. A lot of people were married. There wasn't a lot of young guys that were having a good time. So I kind of had to, I was younger. I was single at the time. I had money for the first time. And I like to have a good time. I mean, everybody kind of knew that. So I had to kind of find, a couple guys on the team that would maybe want to go out. A lot of those guys were going to get cut anyway, so it was the off season. So I hang out with a couple people. There's one night I was walking into an outside bar that has music and things here in Indianapolis. It used to be awesome. It's closed down ever since. But as I was walking through the parking lot, I think it was a Yukon. It was either a Yukon or an Escalade, tinted windows, had the windows down a little bit, and I heard, "Hey, Mountaineer." And I was like, I think I just heard that, but I don't know anybody out here, so I'm just going to keep walking. And then a little bit of a beep, and then it said Mountaineer. And I came over to the window and it rolled down, and it was Clint Session. Okay, Clint Session went to Pitt. Clint Session, Indianapolis Colts linebacker. Clint Session was in there, and he said, "Hey man, you want to hang out for a little bit?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So he and I we took vitamins B and C together there, and then we went into the restaurant together. And from that point, most of my rookie season was with Clint Session and Joseph Adai, right? Because those two were friends, and it was incredible. Joseph Adai at this point, Pro Bowler, could have been MVP of a Super Bowl at this. I mean, Joseph Adai had a wealth of knowledge. Clint Session, incredible football player, one of the most hilarious humans I've ever been around. So that was kind of my, hey, how's it going into the NFL? It was cool to chat with somebody that, I had a lot of respect for, both in Joe and Clint, and learned a lot about that. Then I got invited, obviously, to some of Peyton's trips and things of that nature. Had a great time, obviously, on those things. Everybody knows the story about Red 18 and things of that nature. But I was really a floater because I came from a draft class that, there wasn't a lot of people that went out and things of that nature. So I've always been kind of friends with everybody. I enjoy bouncing around because I think it kind of relieves me of the, having to be like a great friend to everybody. So if you're friends with everybody, you don't have to be like all in with this one group of people or this other group of people.
Pretty good.
You don't have to help anyone move.
Exactly. It's like I'm good friends with everybody, but I'm not locked into everybody's. So I bounce around. But then when AQ Shipley came to the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, it was just a whole different world. He's an absolute barbarian. I mean, he is just, and he's from Pittsburgh. He and I started having a good time golfing together, but there's a lot of guys, man. I mean, Mitch King, who's a D lineman for Iowa, I was friends with him. Brody Eldridge. There's a lot of guys off the field that you got to love. But that meathead right there and I, very, very good relationship. He was similar to me, though. We would bounce around. You know what I mean? Like, it was... Everybody's cool. What you learn whenever you get to these places is these elite humans that you think are completely different are cool humans usually. And that was nice to know. Well, what's up? What's that?
NHL news.
What?
Oh, we got breaking news? Is this from NRD?
No, this is from the league.
The NHL scooped NRD? No. NHL Rumors Daily's losing his touch. The NHL's trying to cock our boy.
To his credit, he's been saying this for a while.
They
have announced that training camp will officially start on July 10th.
Okay,
there it is.
So the NHL confirms what NHL Rumors Daily NRD on Twitter has been saying for a while now. Training camp is up and running July 10th for NHL teams. Will this be at their own stadiums and things of that nature, their own arenas, their own training camps, Nick? Do we know any of those answers
We don't know, but it's assumed it will be at their own facilities.
And then they'll get tested, obviously. That'll be a biodome thing. Then they'll pick up and they'll move to one of the 2 hub cities, depending on where it's happening. Las Vegas, with the most hotel rooms in America, will be housing one of them, everybody's assuming. And then the other one will be Toronto. Will Canada lay off the 14-day quarantine for everybody that goes into Canada, including professional athletes? Or will it be Columbus, who's been generating a lot of steam because their arena is right across the street from their practice facility, which is what you would need if you were going to be a hub for half of the NHL for a few months. The NHL sticks on pucks, skates on ice. July 10th is the next run for the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey time to win the COVID Cup. They were at like plus 1,600 or something like that at one point. If you didn't place your bets on that, you're a dummy, because the Penguins released some video of an open ice skate that Sidney Crosby was a part of. And just like I thought, all Sidney Crosby has done this entire quarantine is skate around his living room. He looks like he's better than ever. Penguins are going to make a run at this thing.
They are still currently plus 1,800. Nick, question. So if they're starting July 10th, have they said how long in the past, how long training camps will be, so we have an idea of maybe when the playoffs start?
Nope, but I'm sticking with my theory that they are going to try to beat the NBA back, and the NBA has announced July 31st. I think the NHL is going to try and beat them, even if it's just by a day or two.
When's the MLS coming back? July 8th? Okay, they're probably going to do a training camp, or are they just starting games on July 8th?
I believe that's when the games start.
So how are they getting around all this?
Well, they said, too, they only had to arrive at least 7 days before the game, so that's not even a 10-day quarantine when they arrive.
Florida isn't doing the 10-day quarantine, are they? The NBA instituted the 10-day quarantine
okay.
in the biodome. I don't think it's Florida making those rules.
All right.
The MLS, by the way, figuring out that's a lot of players. That's a lot of players in soccer. I mean, how many does each team have? Probably 20 people, 19 people. I don't know how many people they have. I should know that. With their coaches, them being able to rush back to July 8th, while you look at the basketball is July 31st and NHL is July 10th, training camp starting and things of that nature, makes you wonder. Hammer the unders, I'd assume, for the MLS when it comes back. Just like in the AFL, I feel like you're probably hammering the unders this weekend unless FanDuel moves the line significantly because of what happened this morning. I think a little bit of rust could happen, but at least we're getting sports back.
So the MLS July 8th is after training camps. It says here the Revolution had their first full team practice 2 days ago. So I think they're already in their training camps. The MLS is.
So how come the Pittsburgh Penguins aren't allowed to skate together? Only 5 of them are allowed to be on the ice, and they got a full training camp down there.
I think they're just being super cautious and extra careful.
Oh, so the NHL cares about their players more than the MLS cares about
Sounds like it.
Sounds like
said,
it.
Wow. Well, I thank the MLS for just rolling the dice.
What are they going to do for, like, they have a team from Toronto, right? Like, are they going to have to
Remember,
quarantine? Or?
Canada to America has been open for professional athletes. The NHL got that deal done, and Brock Lesnar potentially is a reason why that got done. But that was an amendment to a guideline for the quarantine international travel, as if you were a professional athlete. For instance, if Gumpy was a professional athlete, which his beard might be soon. His beard might be a professional beard soon. I'm going to enter his ass into a couple beard competitions because that thing has girth, it has length, it has width, and I think his little Canadian ass is only going to keep growing that thing. He looks unbelievable. But they made an amendment to the guidelines because of, I assume, that commissioners committee that's reporting directly to the president. I assume they were like, hey, if we want to do this, we're going to have to get this. They make an amendment that professional athletes are allowed to come into America. Regular ass humans, keep your ass up in Canada. Professional athletes can come in, and I would assume that plays a part of the soccer thing.
That's a one-way street right now.
Yeah, can't go into Canada, though.
Okay.
You go into Canada, 14-day quarantine for everybody. You come out of Canada, if you're a professional athlete, good. You come out of Canada to get to America, probably getting arrested. Shut it down.
Makes sense.
What, the end of June, they locked that thing down until, right?
July, I
End
thought.
of July, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because
Added a month.
Gumpy just had an incredible
Yeah.
Hawaii also extended its 14-day mandatory quarantine until the end of July. It's not great,
Not great.
Nuh-uh.
Not great.
but we will survive. We will survive. Or we won't. We'll talk to Dr. Myron Rowe in about 13 minutes. We'll talk to him about it. We got to get to another break here for radio. Then we have Rhodes Scholar, Florida State football player, played in the NFL, went to Oxford, became a neurosurgeon. Very normal thing for football players to be able to have enough time in the day to figure that all out. Dr. Myron Roll will join us. And I got a long thing here. I got to read about it. I mean, that's a long thing that you sent over to make sure we get in. Myron's experiences as a neurosurgeon medical service provider treating coronavirus patients at Massachusetts. This is my first time reading this, by the way. I have no idea what's going to be said. Massachusetts General Hospital has led him to the conclusion that more is required to combat COVID-19.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. There's more, by the way. There is more. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Son of a...
Hi, how's it going? My name is Pat McAfee. Used to hold balls for Adam Vinatieri. Now I'm in his home state. College game day is absolutely electric. In Brookings, South Dakota. Let's go!
College game day has made the voyage to Brookings, South Dakota to experience a game with the best fans in college football. I unfortunately cannot attend because I have a game this Sunday, so I sent a man I trust to make my picks. A man who is my holder for almost a decade. Please be nice to him. Welcome this week's celebrity guest picker, Pat McAfee.
Go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Hosting Auburn. Yes, everybody saw this. The best fake punt in the world. What do you think, Pat?
I absolutely loved it all the way up until execution time. That is not one we like to show in the brand headquarters and punting and kicking world.
Oh, dance off. Oh, let's get weird. Yes. Duck that, huh?
Bang! Right off the top of the dome. That makes it a lot easier when you got a dummy standing right in front of you like that.
Running. He's, oh! High Daniel Russo!
Wax on! Wax off! Knee to the face!
World Series.
Go!
Yes.
Go! Yes!
These teams stink. With that 15, they celebrate by doing shotguns. And I didn't figure that out. I'm going with the University of Virginia Cavaliers. That was great. Whoa! And I will never, ever in the history of my life cut against that ball. Oklahoma State is a win here. It doesn't matter. Not so fast again.
But I'm going with Trey.
Please excuse my dumb friend Kirk. Look at this crowd. They've been out here since 4 a.m. College game day comes to town. They lose their mind. The population of this state is about 800,000. And when the Jackrabbits take the field, they're alongside all 800,000 South Dakotans. The Dakota marker was in Fargo for far too long. Today, 5 o'clock local time, the Dakota marker is back in beautiful Brookings, South Dakota. Adam Vinatieri School. They might be the Jackrabbits, but they're the GOATs today. Ladies and gentlemen, South Dakota State with the win.
Give me everybody say that.
No, don't do that. No. Leave.
Kelsey has the Pat says it'll be no.
I told you I came on your radio show that we were going to get you on College Game Day.
Not only are you incredibly intelligent and handsome, you're a man of your word. You picked North Dakota today, so I had to bury you.
That's okay.
But it's been nothing but incredible. The College Game Day crew is hospitable. In South Dakota State, I think we can all agree, they showed up here.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I've watched the show, obviously, forever. And it's on in every single NFL locker room. I told you that.
Yeah,
so this is a big-time deal for me, my family, my friends. All right, I'm back in the day here. Appreciate you, boys. It's from the training room with the Colts. A.J. Watt tweeted. I have texts from every human that I've ever done television with, like since way back in the day. They're like, we knew this day would come. Quick managers, old teammates. I mean, you don't get to trend on Twitter often anymore. They make it damn near impossible. Go up onto a stage with a couple legends, talk some shit in front of the incredible South Dakota fans. What an awesome opportunity.
Whenever I go to my door, I get an odd pain in my core. But all I hope for is Omaha Steaks.
Oh, bars?
Wow.
Bars?
They asked for an antidote, and that's what I do. That's a little poem, I think.
Can you run that back?
Yeah. Whenever I go to my door, I get an odd pain in my core. But all I hope for is Omaha Steaks.
All right. See, some people would think that you would try to rhyme with steaks, because it's the ending. But no, you took that poem a different direction.
It gives me a break.
Oh, okay.
That was a haiku.
It was a. What was that, 575?
Haiku is 17 syllables and 2 lines, I believe.
575.
575.
Yep.
You're right. Your math adds up. Hey. Attaboy, Diggs.
I've never heard that way ever in my life.
Syllables. Can you make what you just said in haiku?
Probably not, but Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks. Steaks.
All right, just good.
Omaha Steaks has
He has no idea what a haiku is.
No.
all I heard was 17 words.
Or a syllable, maybe.
So
Syllable?
See, how many syllables is your name?
1.
Nope.
Zeta?
Z.
Oh, I'm really bad at this.
Jose is one.
Jose, same answer.
Yeah, take that, Tone.
No.
Still
Same
two.
answer.
Omaha Steaks has a limited time Father's Day offer with the listeners when you go to.
Tone.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's not me.
No, I'm sorry. Take that, Tone.
Take that, Tone. When you go to omahasteaks.com and enter the code PAT into the search bar, save 55%
Whoa.
on the gift Dad will love for $79.99. Your gift will include, talk about the items, 4 natural lean top sirloin steaks, hand-carved and aged at least 21 days for tenderness and flavor. 4 premium boneless chicken breasts.
No, you're good, dude. I love whenever something has great flavor. I love it. Some people say, you know what? I'll take all the flavor that you have. Make it as flavorful as you possibly can.
Did I mess that up?
No.
4 premium boneless chicken breasts, 4 gourmet jumbo franks, a package of all savory, all beef meatballs. I actually had some meatballs yesterday. It was amazing. 4 perfectly brown potato gratin.
Nailed it.
There you go.
Can't pronounce flavor. But you got all gratin?
That's some good flavor there.
Yep. The music has stopped, by the way.
Don?
Did
Yeah,
Don
what
say
happened to
so?
the
He said, "Tell me this is a bit."
Oh, Don. Oh, my God. I'm going to call the action real quick, though. This Father's Day, send Dad the gift he really wants. Go to omahasteak.com and type PAT in the search bar and save 55% off when you send the summer sizzle pack for $79.99 and get free steak cut bacon with your order.
Hi, baby Z. There it is, Z.
Guys, thank you,
You
guys.
really did good, man.
It means a lot.
You put your own spice and flavor into it.
Sizzle.
All right, Dr. Myron Roll is joining us in 2 minutes. Also at noon, we'll be joined on youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show with Amp Harris, who you probably do not know who that is if you don't live in Indianapolis. If you live in Indianapolis, you know who it is. He is a promoter, manager for everything that happens in Indianapolis, whether it's Mike Epps, a lot of business with Mike Epps, Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, the Black Expo that happens every single year here in Indianapolis, which is the largest expo in the black community every single year. He's a major voice. He's doing some big things this weekend in Indianapolis. He's a friend of mine. I say, hey, let's have a conversation about it. Maybe I can bring a little bit more awareness up to it. I'm not 100% sure if I will, but that's happening at noon. And in 2 minutes, we have Myron Roll. I think we should try to give him a call now, Zito. Maybe steal him for an extra minute or two. Nick, is there anything that we didn't talk about in the first hour that we should have talked about because we are a daily live show?
Absolutely. Your boy Garth Brooks is going to headline a concert at 300 drive-in theaters across America on June 27th.
This is what Garth Brooks does, by the way. You give me an obstacle, and I'm going to jump over it. You give me rules that say I can't have a crowd, I'm going to show up in a car. Garth Brooks is next level. I can't wait for those shows. I'm going to go to the one in Indianapolis. I believe Bert Kreischer is also doing a show in Indianapolis in a drive-in movie theater. If you have live performers who love live performing, they're going to figure out how to live perform whenever there are rules saying that they can't live perform. Garth Brooks, obviously, genius at doing things like that. He's doing that. Do not watch the docuseries, though. It is tough to watch.
Only $100 for a ticket.
Oh, but
Come
wait.
on,
You
Garth.
got to go. He's standing on top of the truck, too. Hey, Garthy. Play some Chris Gaines. Joining us now is a doctor, a man who has a Rhodes Scholar to his name, was an NFL player, was amazing in college football as well, somehow found enough time to also become a neurosurgeon. Ladies and gentlemen, Myron Roll.
Yeah, Byron!
Woo! Doc.
What's going on, boss?
Sure, I didn't say Dr. Myron Roll. You earned the title doctor. Like that, I should have 100% called you Dr. Myron Roll there. I just said Myron Roll, so I take that back. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Myron Roll.
Boy, Dr. Byron!
Attaboy, Doc. Okay, Doc, I just got sent this information to me just moments ago and wanted to talk about this because this is an amazing thing. Myron's experiences as a neurosurgeon medical service provider treating coronavirus patients at Massachusetts General Hospital has led him to believe the conclusion that more is required to combat COVID-19. Specifically, availability of personal protection equipment. Through the Myron L. Roll Foundation, Dr. Roll is attempting to reduce the PPE challenges. He will provide, listen to what this doctor is going to do. He will provide 1,500 face masks to 2 organizations that endeavor to altruistically provide for all communities. The organizations receiving these are the Appalachian Center in Tallahassee, Florida, while at Florida State University. Myron has seen the outreach programs at Appalachian Center, where those in need in the local Tallahassee community receive much needed care, and the Boys and Girls Club in Boston, Massachusetts. Good on you, Doc.
Wow.
Good on you, Doc. What has it been like to battle against this thing? We talked to you at the very beginning of this thing, and now we're a couple months later. What has life been like up there in Massachusetts?
Yeah, it's thank you for having me again, Pat. I appreciate it. It's been better, I would say. I would say our hospital is normalizing again. We've opened up our operating rooms to allow surgeries to happen again. I just did 3 brain surgeries yesterday, 4 the day before that. So we're starting to increase the volume of patients again.
Me too.
No doubt. Our ICUs are sort of turning back into what they typically treat patients for, less COVID patients. I think we had maybe 27 COVID patients and about 70 at risk. So we're allowing patients' families to come into the hospital more now. Non-essential workers are coming back. So things are starting to turn the corner for sure.
Great work.
Let's go.
Great work up there. Without you and the other doctors and the frontline people, we wouldn't be in this position that we're in. Let's speak about the position that we're currently in right now. Everybody's saying that the Arizona corona rate is going through the roof. Then there was obviously the thought that, well, the virus won't survive in heat, so everybody thought Arizona was potentially okay. Texas numbers are going up. Is this something, as we go forward in our existence, that's going to be viewed like the flu? Like, yes, people might get cases, but not everybody's going to die from it. I feel like the beginning of this thing was if you get the Rona, you're going to die. Are we at the point now where we know a little bit more about it, where potentially this is just going to become a part of our lives going forward?
You're absolutely right. I think so. I think we have enough data points, enough data entry, enough information, enough research, enough, sort of objective data to sort of understand and predict what may happen, when the rise in trends may happen. And obviously, we're working incredibly hard to get antiviral therapies and vaccines and antibody tests done so that we're able to be more out in front if this were to spike again at some other point of the year. If a pandemic were to come again, especially one that is analogous to this, I think we'll have a better handle on it just because of not only anecdotal experience that different hospitals have had, but the hard data, the hard science that a lot of these very impressive intellectual people are sort of working through in their labs day to day. So yeah, I think it's be something that we're gonna, sort of see and have to mitigate, yearly. But I think that we're going to have a better response for it as we go forward.
Yeah, because that was the big thing, right? Nobody knew anything about this thing. So whenever we first saw the first reactions and people were talking about hallucinations and potentially passing away to the older community and people that are immunocompromised and things of that nature, we had no idea what to happen. Now with 3 months of research and studies, I feel like you guys in the doctor community are much more comfortable if you do have to treat another COVID-19 patient. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. We have a pathway now. We even have an order set in our hospital, for instance, at Harvard, where we can type in a dot phrase basically, and then it just takes us to an order set of who you need to consult, what images you need to get, what labs you need to get, what antibiotics you need to start. It just auto-populates for you because we have so much information of how to treat these people now. So instead of standing flat foot and being off balance like we were hit the first time when this came around, I think we're much better prepared and much more equipped to do what we need to do.
What countries have been doing well on the rollout plan? Because we saw the AFL, Aussie Rules Football, debuted their round 2 this morning. And then you're hearing about other countries potentially opening up a little bit. New Zealand has no cases. Australia's had no cases. Is that going to be normal for our country with how big we are and things of that nature? Can we look to other countries on how they rolled back into maybe normalizing society again?
I think we can. I think you can look at, how to reintegrate people back into their normal lives, get people going to their normal assembly activities. But one thing that America has done for a long time is sort of classify itself as being different than the rest of the world and saying that our structure and our way of life is a bit different than others. So it might be hard pressed to get a couple lawmakers to feel that they should take advice or take the examples of other countries. And that's just a historical thing and just maybe a pride thing. But from a hard science kind of deal and kind of looking at it outside of our own myopia, I think you can really look at how to reestablish some sense of normalcy, not only just for getting people and the economy back going again, but also to boost the morale, just to have country morale and say, you know what? We went through a very tough time. We did lose a lot of people, and we have to understand that. And now the goal is to sort of keep our country moving forward, keep the progress happening, never forget those that we lost. And if this were to happen again, or we get a threat of having another pandemic, we are better prepared to handle it the next time so that we can certainly reduce those numbers of people, not only whose lives have been lost, but lives have been affected. There's going to be people who have been changed for the rest of their life because of this. Their hospitalization, the fact that they were away from their family, the fact that they, now had to have to deal with this sort of stigma of having COVID-19 everywhere they go, beyond the fact that, they were able to maybe recover from it, but the fact that you were even implicated in this, pandemic makes it very difficult for people to look at you and say, oh, should I be around you? Should I social distance from you? Do I need to be around you? Do I need to do something else? You're going to have sort of this, as you remember, the Scarlet Letter back in Massachusetts, right? You had this A if you were an adulteress or something like that. People would sort of socially distance and shun themselves away from you. So there's that sort of social dynamic that is not really talked about a lot because it's probably not the most pressing issue, but it's something that I think underscores all of this.
I think the information that you just said about how we are much more prepared for if somebody was to get COVID-19 again is information that a lot of people need to hear so that type of stuff doesn't happen. Because, for instance, if a guy in our office had it and he leaves or whatever and he comes back, I assume a lot of people were like, well, this thing was killing people. Boom, we're gonna stay away from him. But that information that the medical field in not only our country, but everywhere, has a road path to how to treat it and move forward is something that I think a lot of people hear, and I can't thank enough for sharing that information. It makes me feel a lot better, by the way. I thought there was a potential gloom and doom conversation coming with you. I'm happy that is not the case. Have you ever thought about running for president? Are you going to run for president? Yeah.
Well, I'm 33, so I got some time. But I saw Barack Obama go in like a young man with nice, healthy hair, and he left like really gray. So I'm not sure if that works for me. I don't know.
Yeah, the presidency is not an easy one, from what I've been told. But man, you've been there, done that with a lot of things that aren't easy at all. Going forward here, okay, as a country, going forward, when you see these rules that all seem to, I don't want to say contradict each other, but they do kind of contradict each other. So, for instance, at a football facility right now, they're getting back into work. They're getting tested on the way in, but then when they're in there, they have to wear a mask unless it's athletic. Unless they're doing something athletic, which is on top of each other. Then when they're not doing it, they have to put a mask on, take the mask off, they shower together. There are so many things that seem to contradict each other. I think that is why the mixed messaging is going. Why do these all seem to kind of go against each other? Can't eat this small business, but can go to this grocery store where everybody's at. Don't have to wear a mask whenever I'm doing something athletic on top of each other, but any other time I have to wear a mask. None of it really seems to add up. Am I the only one that is dumb enough to be confused by a lot of these things?
No, certainly we all are, and I think it's part of the growing pains of trying to figure out what's the appropriate steps. I had a chance to speak to the Patriots. I'm good friends with the McCourty twins. Jason McCourty and I played together with the Titans, and his trainer and Coach Belichick invited me to speak to the team, and just sort of asking me to sort of put it in layman's terms or put it in a football player's terms. What should I do individually to sort of keep myself healthy and then protect my family as well? And I just gave them a few quick things. One, make sure your diet is still good, right? Make sure that you're keeping your vitamins and minerals up in your body so it continues to boost your immune system, because we know vitamin D, you can have enough vitamin D and you can sort of help these the cells that are able to, I see you writing, cells that are able to fight sort of inflammatory or infectious diseases like this, right? Upper respiratory infections. Another thing is, when I tell them, when you go into the facility, a lot of guys go in with their street clothes. They walk around for a while, dap up their friends, go move this way, move that way. Take off your street clothes immediately when you get into the locker room. Change to your workout gear. Take that off immediately when you're done. Get your street clothes on to go immediately out, right? So for us, when we go into the hospital, we go in, change immediately, put on new scrubs, operate, go see patients in the ED, go in the ICU, go in the wards, and then once we leave, we take those scrubs off, put on new scrubs, and get out of there as quickly as we can. I told them about sanitizing all of their equipment, like almost being neurotic with it, treating everyone as almost as if they are an asymptomatic carrier, even if they tell you they're okay. So I was just going through all those little things that you can do individually. You can't really do much about the actual nature of the sport. You're tackling people, you're sweating on each other, you're in a huddle, all those things. But the things that you can control, trying to distance yourself in the team meeting rooms when you're watching film, sit 2 or 3 seats apart, whatever you can do, that can be helpful. And as long as you do that, I think that you're at least being conscientious that this is still an issue and we're not fully over it, but we're getting there, but we're not all the way done.
I don't know how our relationship is with the World Health Organization. I think Fauci even turned on him the other day, who was a member of the World Health Organization for like 30 years or something like that. So I don't know what information you can believe and you can't believe. You mentioned it, you alluded to it there about how asymptomatic carriers, they said, are actually not carrying or making it contagious for anybody, where that was the big wave, I think like a month and a half ago, was like, even if you don't have it, you potentially are spreading, or even if you don't feel like you have it, you're potentially spreading it. Where do we stand with the asymptomatic carriers in your eyes?
I think it's something that's still obviously being studied, but I think it's a risk. And I think it's not worth saying, you know what, I'm just going to take the sort of insight from a group that maybe has an agenda, or a group that hasn't done enough research, or a group that doesn't have enough enough time to sort of study this out, right? We're not 5 years out from this where we can say, okay, we have good trends, we know where we're going. I think there's still a lot that we know and a lot that we don't know. And I just don't think that it's a time to gamble with the idea that, maybe I can go out and, be in a crowd and just really be full, free, vulnerable like I would, 2 years ago when this wasn't really an issue. I think that at this point, nobody is going to blame you for trying to be neurotic with your health, making sure that you're adhering to the behavioral lifestyle modifications, hand hygiene, face masks, separating yourself, doing all those things until we truly, truly have a real good handle on it. We are moving in a great direction. I'm proud of the way the country is going. I'm proud of the way the medical professionals, even how the normal citizenry has adapted and adopted this new lifestyle. But I just feel like there's still a little more push to go. And once we get there, I think we'll have a bit easier time doing it. But for right now, I would say just keep your foot on the gas pedal and keep moving forward with being a little bit uncomfortable for the time being.
I'm 33 as well. I don't know how these two humans have lived on Earth the same amount of time, but I'm thankful you did, sir. I can't thank your brain enough. Congratulations on all your success. Thanks for saving the world. Thanks for donating 1,500 masks to a couple of different charities. I mean, you're a good person, and I enjoy every conversation we have together. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it, man.
I think you got to be 35 to run for president, or 36, so figure it out.
Hey, how about me and you do it together? How's that?
Hey. Oh. Hey. I don't know, man. I think I will drag you down. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Myron Roll.
Yeah, Doc!
Woo! Thank you, Doc. Great conversation.
Just did 7 brain surgeries in the last 2 days.
Yeah, no big deal.
And we've gotten back to other things other than COVID-19. Friends, I think I did 3 brain surgeries yesterday, 3 yesterday, and then 4 brain surgeries the day before that. Today, I'm just kind of hanging out talking to an idiot. But so it feels like we're.
It was overly positive, but also
Skeptic.
still
a little
be safe.
skeptical. Yeah.
Which I think is the right.
Good news for us. And I think he said we've been doing a good job.
Yeah.
Dr. Myron Rose said we've been doing a good job.
Thanks, Doc.
Good for us.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be a lot more give and take there. He did say that this is something we're just going to have to live with going forward, which I feel like a lot of people are thinking. So when you see those cases rise, I assume that there was more flu cases as it went on. I don't know. Not a bad day. Stick around on YouTube. We'll be talking to Amp Harris about what he's got going on this week in Indianapolis. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. Whew. That was fast talking right there. I had to get like twisted. Hold on. Let me FaceTime. I'm talking with Amp right now. So Amp sent me a text yesterday about what he's got going on. I think he's doing a press conference in Indianapolis about what they're doing tomorrow. I think it's going to be a Zoom press conference at the time of our show. Then he's got something going on Sunday. I think this is cool to have this conversation. I want to have this conversation strictly because the people that are alongside him here are Tamika Catchings, George Hill, who's Indianapolis native, Jeffrey Johnson Sr., who's a local minister. I assume that there's going to be other people there that he's worked with. Amp is setting up something good. Is FaceTime okay? I'm asking him right now. Myron Roll, though, that conversation, man. Hey, that conversation makes me feel like we're doing something.
Yeah.
Arizona, though, I guess those numbers are yodely, 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 yodely. And we talked to that big stooge, AQ Shipley, at the beginning of this thing. They didn't even know that the quarantine was even happening whenever he was out there.
Yeah.
He was FaceTime driving around town. He was like, oh, you thought just me. He showed like all his parking lot and everything like that. And I assume they got better as it went, but you can only keep people in their house for so long, especially if there's nice weather like in Arizona. People are going to get out there. I just hope that this coronavirus thing isn't just going to be, another lockdown for us potentially. What's up, Conan?
Bruce Arians mentioned separating his third-string quarterback from first and second. After hearing that, do you think more teams should do that or no?
I don't know. I have no idea because what are the rules in the NFL? Because the NBA said if you leave, you come back, you got a 10-day quarantine. What's the NFL going to do if you have coronavirus? Are you automatically off the field? Are you gone? Or are we going to be able to move forward with somebody who has coronavirus like what was talked about in the NBA? I didn't even think about the social thought of
the stigma.
Because in my eyes, if you get it, it's almost like I don't want to stay away from you. I mean, I kind of do, I guess, but it's not like I am judging you. I'm like, oh, that sucks for you. That's because we lived through it. I think maybe later, or people that didn't live through the time would be like, oh, they had COVID-19 or whatever. But I don't know. I might be wrong. I feel like there's a lot more ignorant people than I could imagine. But it feels like I'd be like, damn, I feel so bad for you. Yeah. Like that is a real problem.
The biggest thing what was him when he was talking about if somebody comes in and now they can put in their system and they have a path, like this is how we treat it now, is huge.
That was at the Harvard Hospital, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, nice hospital.
Where I work at the Harvard Hospital. Yesterday I did 3 brain surgeries. The day before I did 4. When I was at Oxford days. And he played for the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you become a neurosurgeon while playing college football? I will never understand. I have no idea how that guy did what he did. And he was good. It's not like he just stunk. It's not like he was at the bottom of the roster. He was very good at football while doing all this stuff. Next level human being right there. Only 33 years old. He's done a lot more in his 33 years than me. Another guy was 33 who did a lot in his life. Allegedly.
Yeah, in theory.
Very rare breed, that guy.
Very.
Don't see a whole lot of Myron Rolls walking.
It's funny
around.
you asked, when are you running for president? Because I was thinking the same thing as he was giving that same answer that made you ask that question.
Well, yeah, because you said, well, we kind of have a history of being a bit egotistical when it comes to reading from other people, which I would assume that is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume that is accurate. It's going to be tough to tell those people to change their ways, but I feel like in the middle of this whole thing, there's going to be a nice young, maybe generation that gets into the politic game. If I had to guess, I'm not 100% sure. Hey, will you call Amp?
Yep.
Do you have his number? I'll send it over to you right now. I think there's going to be a younger generation kind of getting into stuff, though, which a nice, healthy mix. I mean, you look at some of those politicians, dude. They're just a bag of bones rolling around there. Yeah. Can't speak, have no idea what's going on. Both sides. Yep. This is not a one-party issue here. This is You got some people who have been around a long time, and they're telling us what's wrong with the system. It's like, wait, didn't your old motherfucking ass kind of put this all into place? Yeah. You don't even know what the world's going on right now. Get the hell out of here. But then if you're young, you're not going to get voted for because you don't have the experience. There's always something against you. There's always something going on. And then if you do almost win, they'll just power your ass out with the super PAC thing. I mean, it's
a tricky game.
It is an interesting game. It is an interesting game, but I think we're going to see a lot more younger people running.
That's why Cubes needs to run. Split it right down the middle.
Here you go, Cubes. Cubes understands business. He is one of the main parts of the American Dream Show, basically, Shark Tank. I mean, he can run. That is a guy I'd like to see run for president right there.
McAfee Roll has a pretty good sound to it.
I think it would be Roll McAfee if I had to guess.
Roll McAfee.
And I've heard the vice president position is not one that you desire. I've heard that is a tough gig. And also, I don't ever want to bring down Dr. Myron Roll. Like, let me at a rally say something stupid, and now he has to answer questions for it. It's like, I am not the guy.
Dr. President Roll?
President Dr. Myron Roll.
Maybe you run for president and you have him be your Surgeon General.
Oh,
that's for sure happening.
That's the smart move. I don't want to get into president. I'm not supposed to be there, by the way. Maybe this guy, though, who does so many good things in the city of Indianapolis, his name is one, if you're in Indiana, you know about this weekend, doing great things for our city, bringing our community together, once again, with athletes and entertainers. He's done business with everybody from Mike Epps to Reggie Wayne to me playing on his basketball team during Black Expo Week. Ladies and gentlemen, the Indianapolis legendary Amp Harris. Attaboy, Amp!
That's the best intro I've ever had my entire life, man. I appreciate that.
Well, Amp, you do good things, man. People should know. I don't think a lot of people know because you're behind the scenes a lot of the times, but I've seen you work some magic and make the place a better place, and I think that's what you're going to do this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Pat, man. I mean, the times that we're in, man, is really hard, and I think it's about unity and bringing people together. I tell people a lot of times, especially when we're talking race relations, I like to look at music as something that brings everybody together. And when you have a piano and you try to use just all white keys, you really can't get a good tone.
Ooh.
But if you try to use all black keys, you can't get a good tone. But if you bring the black and white keys together, Stevie Wonder makes great music that way. So that's how I kind of look at what I try to do, when I put people like yourself, even working with LeBron James and a lot of these other guys that I've been blessed to be able to work with. It's all about love and bringing people together, and that's all I know.
And I think that was the message. And I've said this a couple of times, and I'm going to reiterate it to you to get your reaction. I think for a long time, situations have arisen where injustices have been brought to the forefront, right? There's been always situations. And Colin Kaepernick was trying to put a spotlight on it, and then that message got taken and just ran a completely different direction, and nobody wanted to listen. The NFL has come out and said, actually, we weren't listening. Chris Ballard gave an impassioned speech about how I didn't listen. There's a lot of people who said they didn't listen. When the George Floyd murder happened, after this quarantine, it felt like for the first time, maybe ever in this country's history, where a majority of the humans, both black and white, were looking at that and were like, that can't happen anymore. And it felt like people were listening. It felt like the entire country, there was protests in every single city when normally it's regionalized and things of that nature. It felt like we were really getting somewhere. Got a little bit off path with the riots and the looting and cities being burnt down, a lot of them by people that weren't there to spend the message that was being spread. And I think now, though, we're getting back to that message. And that's why I'm pumped up for this weekend, because for you in Indianapolis especially, I think we're getting back to the message of even older whites who might have been stuck in their way, you name it, they're starting to listen, they're starting to learn a little bit. And I feel like we're potentially going to get somewhere for real, Amp. It really does feel like that at this point. Maybe judgment will be able to disappear out of a lot of people's hearts. Now, there's always going to be some idiots, but it does feel as if we're potentially getting there. Do you feel the same exact thing?
Yeah, and I think, sometimes, man, it's almost like if you take a soda can and you shake it and you shake it and you continue to shake it, when you open the top of it, what typically happens? It explodes.
Yeah.
And for over 400 years, that's what African Americans have been dealing with. It's really tough when, and I like to tell people, for me, my brain works like this, Pat. I work topics versus issues. When you talk about what Cap did when he took a knee, most people, and it's easy for us to do it, and we all do it. It's easy to focus on the topical side, because when you really have to deal with issues, that means you have to look yourself in the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard for people, especially privileged people or, arrogant people, to think that my life is better than yours because, I may play professional football, or I'm an NBA player, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I graduated from college. It doesn't even matter. When you deal strictly, again, with race, it's something that Michael Jackson made a song, and I'm actually using it as my tagline throughout these days, man in the mirror. And you really have to look yourself in the mirror, and I can't stress that enough, to make that change. When you talk about what happened to George Floyd, I told someone that I was speaking to, I said, if I gave you and I was speaking to a white person, I said, if I gave you a black and white picture of that same 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and it's in black and white, what is it? That person said, oh, it's murder. I said, now, if I gave you that same picture and turned up the color lens on it, what do you see? A white man with his knee on a black man's neck. Typically, 99.9% of the times, without even thinking about it, a white person is going to say, what did he do?
Bingo. It's always because there's always more to the story is always the thing. Well, what is his past? What is this?
Right.
And that's why whenever the officer of the law Derek Chauvin, he's not an officer of the law. The guy is 18 times.
He's a thug.
Yeah, he's 18 times. He's fucked up 18 times, and it's all got swept under the rug, that guy. But he wasn't arrested immediately because they're like, well, we want to look into it. We want to do all this stuff. And a lot of people were like, if that was just two people on the street filmed and saw, that person would have been arrested on the spot. That person wouldn't have been, they would have had a knee on the back of their neck immediately upon that to get arrested and go to jail. And I think that lack of immediate action was something that a lot of people who had been tone deaf to this type of situation before were like, wait a minute, that guy definitely fucked up there. He should be in jail. I think that, then the protests about the missions and people learning more, I think, about the life of a black person growing up in the neighborhoods that they come from. I think that is the type of thing. We had a conversation with Darius Butler last week where D-Butt was telling me about how he has to worry basically about walking down the street not to intimidate anybody. When he's made it and he moves into a neighborhood and he was leaving his own neighborhood where he lived and got the cops called on him for this type of thing. There's just always this inherent justice or judgment, it feels like, from some people. And I think that's why these protests are good, because a lot of people, I feel like, are waking up. Now, it's going to take some people some time, but I think these conversations, these movements, I think are big for everybody. And I've really enjoyed watching the world potentially come together, which is what it feels like is happening for the first time ever.
Yeah, and I mean, the funny thing is, and I'm doing a panel discussion with several athletes on tomorrow. It's a private thing that we're doing with George Hill from the Milwaukee Bucks, Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers, Hall of Famer Tamika Catchings, LaVall Jordan, who is the head basketball coach at Butler University, Kevin Pritchard, general manager of the Indiana Pacers, and some other people. And my thing that I like to explain to especially sports fans, when they come to an Indianapolis Colts game and they see Pat McAfee in his uniform, they see Reggie Wayne, T.Y. Hilton, Robert Mathis, Darius Butler, all these guys that are your brothers in the locker room. They see them in their uniform and they cheer and they scream. But the moment they take that uniform off, Robert Mathis becomes this big, oversized, bald head threat. The same guy that everybody was just cheering for, he is a uniform. And the moment that white America starts to understand that that same person you just cheered for is a human just like you are, the only separation is his skin color. And when we get in our cars and we take off from Lucas Oil Stadium, they done made 60, 70,000 people cheer and scream, and we won the game. And we're riding home. And this used to happen. I would ride home with Reggie, Edrin James, and we would ride in our cars. And the police would pull up beside them because they have tinted windows, and it's a fancy car. The same guy that police was just in there protecting and serving, quote unquote, is the same guy that's in this car. But you don't see number 32. You don't see 87. You see a black man that in your perception is a threat. And until we learn to deal with that, which is why Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson's song, is so prevalent, because you have to hold yourself accountable. It shouldn't be that we have to rally. And sometimes looting and rioting is necessary, because when you've been oppressed for so long, Pat, you white people don't really get it. You, Pat, I know you as a person. So I'm always, whenever I see you do things that's off the cuff, I send you a text, bro, I'm so proud of you, keep doing what you're doing. I don't see a black or white man. I see a person.
Yeah.
And until we start to understand that, this will never change. And we have to, and you know, I deal with a lot of my friends in the media are white. And yes, I get it. I have privilege. I'm on the Pat McAfee show. That's privilege. I don't take it for granted. However, I also understand that the reason I use my platform to be on the Pat McAfee show is to be able to talk about realistic points of views of what we deal with. Don't look at AMP as something different because I know Pat McAfee. Respect is earned, it's not given. So when we have to use looting and rioting, and this is what I tell my young people that are out there that are protesting, and 99% of them are peaceful. You got 1% that's just assholes, whether if you're white or black.
Yep.
But protesting is not sustainable. So once we get past, last week I did one, Pat, it was 10,000 people at the state office building.
Hey, my lady was there. It was awesome. My lady, I was out of town, but my lady went down there. She was sending me pictures. It was an incredible collection of people in Indiana, by the way, who, even though Indiana was a part of the Union, there is some deep history here for some hate in Indiana. And the entire city was there, peaceful. Sam was there, very peaceful. The march was awesome. I mean, that was a beautiful thing you put together there.
And we're doing it again. And I'm working with these young black young ladies, ages 16 to 21, black women in charge. They are phenomenal. And so what I'm trying to do now is let people see George Hill is a human being. Tamika Catchings is a human being. LaVal Jordan is a human being. Reggie Wayne is a human being. You know, these are people who in their profession are professional athletes or professional doctors. But in real life, they are black, and you can't separate them because of their title. And this is, and back in like the 80s, Pat, I was watching Oprah Winfrey's story on her show, and she had the KKK on her show, Pat, and this was really profound. The guy from the KKK said to her, Oprah Winfrey, you, Michael Jackson, excuse my dialect, bro. You, Michael Jackson, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. See, here's the difference, what you need to understand. Y'all are black. The people in your audience are niggas.
Oh.
That's the perception. It's okay with me, Pat, because that's real life, because that's how they make separation. It's classism. But at the end of the day, when injustices are done, take that same respect that you have for Robert Mathis or Reggie Wayne or Edgerrin James or T.Y. Hilton and apply it, because that George Floyd is Robert Mathis. George Floyd is Reggie Wayne. George Floyd is Edgerrin James, Michael Jordan, and you can keep going on and on and on. It just depends on if you meet the wrong thug that day. And thugs don't come in various of colors. And that's what people got to understand. And they don't just all wear black shirts. They wear blue uniforms too. And until we break that cycle, which is what my goal is to use legislation to go after the FOP, Fraternal Order of Police. Because
the union. The union is very strong. I didn't know about it until Darius Butler, whose dad, I believe, is in law enforcement, and he kind of had like a little bit. He said the police union is one that it's impossible to get somebody fired. Accountability isn't really a real thing at that point. There's a lot of laws that are passed in that kind of sweep some things under the rugs and things that I guess that union is. People are talking about defunding the police. I think everybody with a sane brain is like, we still need police. Obviously, there has to be police because. By the way, who knows what could possibly happen? But there is ways that we have to fix it in a quick fashion, because we can't have Breonna Taylor happen during
No.
this entire thing. We can't have that happen anymore because I feel like we are getting in the proper direction.
And that's why I think platforms like yours, Pat, are really important because you speak from your heart. You speak as a human. And, I don't do Republican, Democrat, black, white. Yes, I'm a pro-black man, but I believe right versus wrong. And if there is a black man that did something that's unjust, I'm going to speak up about it. When we as black people are killing each other at an alarming rate, I speak up about that as well. The only difference when people talk about the police, and you can go to training for 8 weeks, 12 weeks to become a police officer. You could be 23 years old. It takes longer to go get your barber and beauty license than it does to be a damn police. So when we talk about defunding the police, Pat, that doesn't mean abolish police. That doesn't mean get rid of the police department. What that means is the police department has a $6 billion budget. They are militarizing city and state police departments. That's absolutely ridiculous. So what we have to do is we have to take some of that money. Back in the day, they used to have the Police Athletic League, which was called the PAL Club.
Oh, yeah.
Young black men like me, Pat, were able to go to those PAL clubs because they're community centers, boxing, basketball, absolutely. That's what we mean. Let's take some of that militarization money from the police department. Let's apply it, because some of this is mental health as well. Let's apply it to programs. Let's give these young kids programs. They have nowhere to go. So if you're trying to tell me a young man can come in from Mooresville, Indiana, as an example, put him on 30th and Keystone. She's never interacted with people of color. All she knows is what she or he has been taught. What perception do you think that person has when they see a black person? One. The other side of it is, what type of training? Pat McAfee, you have more training to be an NFL player, and you're playing a sport than this person does, as supposed to be out here dealing with people with mental health issues.
Well, with power. Like that,
Yes.
that you get, I did not, the barber line now, that is, and some of those barbers need to maybe say a little
Have facts.
But that is an insane stat to have there. It's like, so whenever you guys say defund the police, the statement is actually, let's reform how the police operates.
Absolutely.
Got it. Because I'm all on
But
board for
topics
that.
but here's the thing, Pat, just like the cap thing. So when you are the oppressor, you use topics versus issues. So you take the word defund, just like you take the word protest, and you, in Cap's case, you make it about the flag. You make it about, and that has nothing to do with it. Defund has nothing to do. We need law enforcement. I have various friends from chief of police all the way down. We need law enforcement. What we don't need is gangs on the law enforcement. And just like, and I tell my police friends this, you have a history of telling the community, see something, say something. The only way you break systematic racism is you have to do it from within. We need white officers, black officers, white people to see something and say something. Don't make it where it's a 100% responsibility on me as a citizen to do that. But then when I look at you and you're murdering people, not only are you murdering people, you get away with it. So where is the trust in it from the community? So now you have an uprising of young black people, Pat, that get pulled over. And it's so systematic because they may not arrest you now. What I'm getting ready to see, police aren't going to do a whole lot of arrests. They're going to do a whole lot of harassing. And now you can use, because they have a bylaws that they're never ending. They can just create in their own mind ways that they can see Pat McAfee and Amp Harris walking down the street, and they can grab me, punch me in my face. And if my left hand goes up in the air from being punched in the face, they can say I was resisting arrest.
Oh, yeah.
And so there is no real governing within the police department. So what we have and what we got to do, and this is the biggest threat to racists and oppressors. The biggest threat, Pat, is watching Sam come stand next to me at a rally, watching Amp and Pat do interviews and be on the same accord.
Yep.
That is a threat to the power struggle of the oppressors. So why this is working, if it was just all black people, yeah, they would listen. They would hear, but they won't listen. Now that it's their kids, and I have another motto that I live by, it doesn't affect you until it affects you.
Yeah, bingo.
So if you're a Carmel lawyer and you live in Carmel, but you see your kids walking in that march, now all of a sudden you have a different perspective. And that's where the change is coming from. And that's how we break the systematic racism. All of us coming together. So Sunday at 3 p.m., we're having another rally. And again, mine is not just about protesting. Mine is about legislation. So it's a rally, but it's a voter registration rally. We're going to march, but I'm going to have people out there registering people to vote, because that's how we're going to make a change.
Amp, incredibly good stuff. Incredibly good conversation. I think the good part about this whole thing is we are all at the point where we realize, and I think there were some maybe older whites who or maybe even younger whites, by the way. There's videos of younger whites doing despicable things when it comes to hate in their heart as well.
Absolutely. Right.
But I think the realization is, and I forget who said this quote, but it was, we tend to judge others by their worst examples and ourselves by our best intentions. And I believe that is something that happened for a very, very long time. And now we're getting to the point where we're looking past that and we're like, okay, every group has some terrible people in it potentially, but the overwhelming positive needs to come together to make sure that that can't continue to happen. And I am pumped up for what you're doing, Amp. 3 o'clock on Sunday, I think I'm in town, so I'll come down and say what's up for sure.
Please do.
If I'm in Indianapolis, I have no idea. My life is a stupid one at the moment. But if I am in town, I will come down and say what's up. I love what you're doing, and I can't thank you enough for joining us, Amp. You're the man.
Thank you, Pat McAfee, brother. You know I love you, bro. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm a fan.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, Amp Harris. Yeah! Appreciate you, Amp.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Keep doing good shit. Thursday, June 11th. We're back in 40 minutes with McAfee and Hawk. Good convo with Amp there. All these conversations are good conversations. You feel like you learn stuff and things of that nature. I do feel like we're on the tipping point of potentially all coming together. I hope so, too. It'd be a good thing to do. 2020 has been rather terrible. But that would be something that we could come out on the other side of and be like, you know what? We're a less judgmental society. Let's keep it moving. 20 minutes after the hour, we'll be joining you in 39 minutes with McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, June 11th.